life I've barely spoken. Your words have been so broken. I've been under your hypnosis. Why did I sip that potion? I'm so done with holy ghosting. My birth, it is an omen. Lay me down up in the ocean until you see no motion. Right now I can barely focus. I'm showing no emotion. On your knees, show your devotion. My skin is black but golden. I'm not here for bragging, boasting. Ain't lying, I've been chosen. Mind is burning, heart's exploding. This is my magnum opus. Are you with me now? Said, are you with me now? Ain't felt this good in a while. They want us to simmer down. Can you hear me now? Am I going in and out? I stop and just look around to see if you're with me now. Tell me, are you with me now? Ready to put it down. Start at the bottom, already forgot them, but they won't forgive me now. You really ain't ready now. You haters just in the crowd. But still I just look around, are you with me now? Are you with me? Step in the fire, get ready to take it higher. Real coming out your amplifier. Y'all want every black man to be rich and pride. Why these weapons up and turn into shy, huh? Cell phone became your brother. Internet replace your mother. You leaving homies on red. It's no wonder all your friends dead. Jealousy was a centerpiece, so my best friends turned to enemies. Sabotage my identity. Why they wanna treat me like a Kennedy? They wanna affect the legacy. Protect the heart, I cut off the extremities. I'll never be another piece in your recipe for social supremacy. Are you with me now? Said, are you with me now? Ain't felt this good in a while. They want us to simmer down. Can you hear me now? Am I going in and out? I stop and just look around to see if you're with me now. Tell me, are you with me now? Ready to put it down. Start at the bottom, already forgot them, but they won't forgive me now. You really ain't ready now. You haters just in the crowd. But till I just look around, are you with me now? Are you with me now? Are you with me now? Said, are you with me now? Ain't felt this good in a while. They want us to simmer down. Can you hear me now? Am I going in and out? I stop and just look around to see if you're with me now. Tell me, are you with me now? Ready to put it down. Start at the bottom, already forgot them, but they won't forgive me now. You really ain't ready now. You haters just in the crowd, but still I just look around. Are you with me now? Are you with me now? Whoa. I feel it coming now. It's too late to shut it down. Over the mountain now. Burn the valley down. I don't know where my mind is. Don't even know what time it is. Somebody stop the virus. I don't think I survived this. I feel it coming now. It's too late to shut it down. Over the mountain now, burning the valley down. I don't know where my mind is. Don't even know what time is. Somebody stop the virus. Room full of bodies, but nothing but silence. Yeah, I'm quiet, but f*** all that shyness. Go crazy, turn this bitch into an asylum. You fly, but we ain't looking for pilots. I never bow down to a tyrant, His Highness. Even Jack said, f*** all them giants. What goes up comes down, man, that's basic science. Look at my iris and you'll see the fines. I'd rather not get involved with you. What's the problem, man? I'll solve all your sign. How you find when your time up? How you climb when your line stuck? Barbershop getting lined up. Yeah, your hair good, but your mind super clear. Uber everywhere. This sound like Superman is here. Are you with me now? Said, are you with me now? Ain't felt this good in a while. They want us to simmer down. Can you hear me now? Am I going in and out? I stop and just look around to see if you with me now. Tell me, are you with me now? Ready to put it down. Start at the bottom, already forgot them, but they won't forgive me now. You really ain't ready now. You haters just in the crowd, but still I just look around. Are you with me now? Are you with me now?
All right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the WardRadio live stream. I am your host, Carden Ellis, and today I am joined by a killer cast. I didn't know this many people fit in one screen. We are joined by Cool-Headed Luke. Used to be Clipmaster Luke. Somebody brought up the other day that it used to be Clipmaster Luke. I forgot that moniker. Now he is Cool-Headed Luke. Jacob Hansen, Brad Whitbeck, and the Associate Professor of all things apocryphal. And we're going to be dissecting a little bit of Jacob's kind of seminal argument with Trent Horn from the YouTube channel, The Council of Trent, on the other YouTube channel, Pints with Aquinas. Before you get started, everybody make sure you like the stream on the way in. Send this to any of your other buddies interested in the apologetic argument that Jacob just engaged in here. But tonight's going to be a lot of fun, so make sure you subscribe if you haven't yet subscribed. I don't know where to start because there's so many places to start. You know what, Luke? You're the guy that organized this whole thing. You're the dude that kind of made it happen. Mad props to you for being like a fixer, like the mafioso middleman, you know? Why don't you just tell us what happened? You are indeed the editor-in-chief of WardRadio News, so just give us the down low on what happened, and then we'll just get started. Luke, hit us. You got to unmute yourself, bro. Oh, whoops. No, I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. I muted you. Yes, there we go. Sorry about that, man.
Yeah, so you've been putting me in sunglasses and all the things, so I guess I just had to wear them.
I love it,
but I'm going to take them off now. Feels weird inside. All right, so yeah, this was a year ago. It was actually over a year ago. It was on August 1st of last year, 2023, that Trent made some sort of comment about, I want to have more dialogues with people outside of, I think he called it outside of Christianity. Fair enough. And so I was like, you know what? I have been kind of frustrated that we have our really great internal apologetics, but if you type in like debate of Mormon versus Catholic, you get like a recording of a radio show from like 1997 as like the only formal debate between Mormon and a Catholic, or even another Christian out there. So I wanted to change that.
Luke was 3 years old in 1997. People,
yeah,
a little younger than that actually.
Were you really?
Yes.
Yeah, I got to
three.
see Luke's age because when we were doing the flights, we had like the ages and things with the tickets, and it was like, oh my goodness.
Oh my.
Yeah. Harden is closer to my dad's age than he is to my age.
Oh,
nice. Okay. All right, dog. Let's chill out now. We can chill out.
All
right.
So I sent Trent this email. I was like, geez, I feel like I could probably handle it. It's a subject I know and could learn a lot about. So I emailed Trent and said, hey, I'll debate you on the Book of Mormon since you're interested in talking to people. And he kind of, to his credit, responded, but was like, hey, you haven't done any debates, because he asked like what I had done, and you haven't done any debates. And I said, no problem. I can ask my friend Jacob Hansen, who has done debates. I think he'd probably say yes. And would you be interested in that? Trent said, sure. So I threw Jacob in the chat, and then it was just a lot of emailing back and forth about dates and times and places and who we going to do it with. And finally, over 1 year later, it finally happened 2 days ago.
Well, and I just to interject here in my side of the story on this a little bit, I didn't originally want to take this debate. I was very, when I heard the subject, is the Book of Mormon divinely inspired? It isn't that I don't think that that's a good thing, but it's in apologetics and debate, you have to be very careful that you don't put yourself in a position where you just have to play defense and the other guy has nothing to prove. Okay.
Which is exactly what this question was.
Kind of, yes. But
Yeah.
I realized that I could frame it against something. So I could frame it against the Bible, right? And my thought was, if they believe that the Bible is divinely inspired, well, whatever arguments they're using to say that the Bible is divinely inspired, we can use. And any of the things that they're using to say that the Book of Mormon is false are the same things that can be used to say the Bible is false. They have to argue like an atheist. And when I realized that, and then I also realized the fact that Trent has a book that's actually called When Protestants Argue Like Atheists, and he always tells people, like, don't argue like an atheist, I was like, I think I could actually make a really sharp point here in this debate. And so after talking it over with Luke, we kind of strategized about it. I was like, you know what? I think I will take it. And you know, and just another thing, Trent has actually been on the record saying he would not debate the subject, is the Bible true, or something to that nature. And to a certain extent, I understand that is a hard thing to debate if you're dealing with an atheist. But with us, when we're dealing with someone who's going to make claims that the Bible is true and then turn around and be like, well, that Book of Mormon, that's just ridiculous. It's like, you know, I think they have an uphill battle. So that's why we decided to kind of go with it.
And just to clarify things, actually, Luke asked me and Brad and Carden to do the debate originally, but we all have jobs, so we turned him down. Jacob is a beach bum. He lives in the back of his car. He lives in Long Beach, California. He just surfs all day. He's got nothing else to do. So we pawned it off on him. I think he did pretty well.
Yeah.
He cleans up real well. He
So-
hides dreadlocks under that hat right there, if you don't know.
Hit it, Brad.
No, it was really good. I thought Jacob did a great job. It was fascinating because so just full disclosure here, guys. I have never seen anything from Trent Horn before that debate. And the crazy thing was, I'd heard every single argument that he used. It was really fascinating. It was really weird. I was anticipating, I don't know, something more, something more substantive, but it felt like, I don't know. I think Jacob did an incredibly good job of handling the debate, even though the guy you were debating, nothing against him, nothing against Trent Horn. He seems like a good guy, but man, it seemed like he was just trying to avoid talking about the Book of Mormon the entire time. He would dodge to Joseph Smith. He would dodge to the Kinderhook plates or the Book of Abraham or other things, but he kind of avoided the Book of Mormon, which was the point of the debate. So that was odd for me to see.
Yeah, it was funny too. Like, again, that's been a lot of the reaction that I've heard from people that have talked to me about the debate. The general consensus is that they were kind of disappointed in Trent because the arguments that he brought up were kind of old tropes that we've all heard 1,000 times. That, like, you can just Google, like, what is the apologetic response to these things? And there's like articles and
Yeah.
and we can get into the specifics of that. But I will say this before we get into the actual like content of the debate. I want to make a real quick point about getting to meet Trent Horn. Luke and I went and had dinner with him the day before. He's great. I've had interactions like with James White. I'm not going to say that those interactions were great at all. They were terrible. He was incredibly rude and short. It was funny, after I finished our debate that he moderated, James White actually came up to me, and I thought he was going to say something like, "Hey, good job, it was nice to meet you," or something. And all he did was look at me, and he just said, he looked right in my face, and he goes, "If I was debating you and you had quoted me like that, I would have buried you." And then he walked away. I was like, what
the heck?
Exactly. He's
He
a
has
weird
a very
dude.
high opinion of his debate skills.
Yes.
Sounds like some good interpersonal skills on that guy.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
Trent, on the other hand, we went to dinner the night before. We had a great conversation. We talked about commonalities and differences. He came onto my show. We did a full interview, which a lot of people saw. We had a great conversation. Just an absolutely stand-up guy. And any of my criticisms of him in this debate, they have to do with a disappointment more like in the arguments that he made, not with him as a person. I chalk up any of the issues that he had with sort of Trent knows a lot about a lot of things, right? So I just don't think he's put in the time into our side of the equation to really study it seriously. And so I chalk it up more to ignorance than anything.
Yeah, you know what? I was just going to say, I'm raising my hand on my own show, but I was going to say, before I jump in and even give my unimportant opinion, unsolicited and unimportant opinion, the only thing I wanted to make sure that I got across was a massive thank you. Like, thank you to Pints with Aquinas for being willing to host this. Thank you for Trent Horn for being able to put himself out there.
Agreed.
We'll offer all of our critiques and all of our opinions and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I love that quote from Teddy Roosevelt where he's like, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks except for the man who is actually in the rink. And you know what? You did a live debate, which I don't care who you are and how well-versed you are in the subject, that takes guts, because there's always a black swan that can, just come up and make you look stupid. There's always some kind of, just unexpected event or pothole you can fall in. And that just is broadcast all over the internet, which never forgets. So we wouldn't even be able to have this live stream and be able to, rub iron against iron, as the book of Isaiah says, and be able to even have these conversations had both, Matt Fradd and Trent Horn and Luke Hansen and Jacob Hansen been willing to stick their necks out there. So in the rest of this podcast, I'm sure we're going to be expressing some disappointments and arguments and so on and so forth. But
and
those
memes.
Yes,
And memes.
Yes, we're going to have tons of memes. We cannot forget the memes, but we want all of our viewers to know that we really, these are all secondary to the respect that we have for Pints with Aquinas, Trent Horn, both his YouTube channel, and frankly, the modern Catholic Church in general, because at least from a California perspective, it's basically us Jews and Catholics are the only organized religions left. You know what I'm saying? So like, we love these guys. And I was there.
One thing I do
want
to say though, I think it's very, very reasonable to just assume that if we agree on like 95% of things, but we got that 5% difference, those are the people we got to fight the most, man. Okay. Those are the ones that we got to get into it with the most. You know, we can't have any allies in this
Catholics
war, man.
They did that big survey showing what different religious groups think of Latter-day Saints. Everybody didn't like us, and the Catholics were just above 50%. So it was like they were like, everyone's like, we hate Mormons, and then the Catholics were like, they're meh.
If they were voting to execute us, Catholics would abstain.
Yeah, we'd be the last.
They would say no, abstain. But just before we go any further, we are thrilled that Wei Shin Mei has bought a celestial ticket to the Ward Radio Wigwam. That Schmau is doing some of his wonderful member missionary work here in the ward. He has gifted memberships to Jonathan D, Brother Jonathan D. He has gifted a membership to Kevin Ludovic. And he's gifted a membership to Killer O Cobalt. All those who would like to welcome the newest members of the Ward Radio Wigwam, that's Wei Shin Mei, that is Brother Jonathan, that is Brother Ludovic, and Brother Killer Cobalt. All those who would like to welcome them, please put a W in the chat for the newest members of the Ward Radio Wigwam.
Yeah, and also
please remember to like the stream on your way in here, people. We want this to spread everywhere. We want this to be like COVID-19.
Yeah.
We want. No, I shouldn't say that. YouTube's going to freak out. Never mind. I take it back.
Hey, Brad, can you catch a
viral thing?
Hey, Brad, can you catch us up on the super chats really fast before we dive into our thoughts and our opinions?
Yeah, we've got a great one starting us off from Snagrit saying Jacob is officially a gigachad for this. 100% Snagrit. Next up, we got Prodigal Son Matt. He says, y'all should check out The Truth and Light Letter by Austin Fife. Get him on, please. It's a well-researched rebuttal of many claims of critics and turns the table and asks questions of the critics. Ooh.
Okay, so yeah,
that kind of leans into some of the stuff we'll talk about today.
So low-key, I actually ordered 7 of those books to give to dudes going on missions in my stake. It's actually awesome. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah,
but
The Truth and Light Letter?
Light and Truth Letter is actually pretty sweet.
Light and Truth. Reach out to me at Thoughtful Faith. We'll have to talk about it.
You'll dig it, Jacob. You dig it.
What's up with all these crappy named books? Like The Key to the Keystone?
Hey.
It should have been called Lehi's Apocryphal Genesis, the most important book you've never read, and how you're going to be a Gnostic Mormon by cracking open its pages. And then like what?
No.
I've already forgotten the name of like
you don't
the
want to
light,
be a Gnostic Mormon.
the light of what was this? Like Chicken Noodle Soup for the Soul by Austin Fife. Like
what's the name of the book you're writing, Cardin? Is it Joseph Smith?
Joseph Smith killed all the werewolves. Yes, that's a totally memorable name. And whatever this Austin Fife guy is, like I've already forgotten the name of his book. But if it's as great as you say it is, it needs to be called How to Wreck and Destroy Your Enemies Theologically, or just like something like that that makes a young man think, oh, I want to buy this, instead of like, it's, oh, is this the Relief Society manual from the 70s? You know, like what is up with these names?
He's got a point.
Guys, you can go rename it the Riz Stored Gospel and see
yes,
how many people bite.
Yes, exactly. Okay, keep going, Brad. Keep going, man.
Okay, next up we got Scrambler. He says, I watched the debate live and Jacob did a fantastic job, even though the debate was set up in the most difficult premise, allowing Trent to hide behind the statement, I did not have to prove anything.
Oh, okay.
I do not have to prove anything. Oh, yeah, he was hiding behind the statement, I do not have to prove anything. Yeah. And he did that. That kind of surprised me.
Here's the thing. I don't think anybody cares about that. Like when you get with the academics and stuff, they're like, well, the debate, and I am defending myself a little bit here because I was the one that proposed this topic. because it sounded more title worthy than where did the Book of Mormon come from?
Oh, true that.
The Book of Mormon is divinely inspired.
True that. Rock on.
So, and I don't think the average audience member cares. I mean, your more academic types, the people who have done their debate class in high school or something, are going to be like, well, the burden of proof was on Jacob because of the wording of the premise of the question, and he had the affirmative, and that's your average member is going to go, who said better stuff about the Book of Mormon?
I think I did. If you watch my opening statement, I made the case for why it's reasonable to believe it, but I didn't just do that. What I did is I both answered the debate question, and then I turned on him to blunt his attacks by saying, if you make the attacks that you're probably going to make, you got a real problem if you're a Catholic.
Which, by the way, Jacob, you called it.
You called it.
Literally everything you said he would say, he then went on to say exactly what you said.
So the way Pine Smith Aquinas is there's like this room, and there's the door that comes in, and then there's the door to the studio. And it's just like this little studio with the door that opens into kind of the chill lounge. And then also where Josiah is, kind of the producer guy on the other side of the wall.
Wait, the producer's named Josiah?
Yeah.
That explains everything now.
His nickname was Thursday. His nickname was Thursday, and I was under the impression that was his name. But apparently he's Josiah, and it's public now. He says, I'm just Josiah now. I'm not Thursday anymore. So yeah, anyway. So I was sitting in a couch kind of like looking into this room for the debate. And Jacob's back was to me, and so it was funny, I was kind of in the line of sight of the camera to Trent's face. So when Trent was looking in the camera, it kind of looked like he was talking to me.
Oh, fun.
One-on-one. It was kind of weird like that. But when Trent was making his opening statement, I was just sitting there gritting, because Jacob and I have talked on the phone for so long. We had like at least 6 2-hour-long conversations, and then we were talking in the car the whole day before this thing, and I was just smiling like this the whole time.
Bullseye. He bullseyed it.
And
amazing.
I had to stand up and kind of pace around a little bit, because I was like, oh, he did exactly what.
And people in the live chat were saying, oh, Jacob's getting too excited. Look, he's getting all excited, and Trent's calm as a summer's morning. And I was like, yeah, Jacob's excited because Trent's playing precisely into his hands. Trent must have looked down at his statement after Jacob's opening and been like, oh crap, what do I do now? Like, I gotta keep going, because he called exactly what Trent was gonna do. It was brilliant.
Yeah, dude, it was wild to watch, because every single thing that he said was exactly what you said he was going to say, and it was him arguing like an atheist. Well, it was really fascinating to watch, because people in the comments were like, well, Jacob sounds like an atheist here. I'm like, no, he's illustrating the double standard here, if you are paying attention, right?
Tell us your argument. For people who haven't seen the debate, Jacob, sum up just real quick, what was the basic thrusts?
So, well, a couple things. The first point is to make my case for why it's reasonable to believe that the Book of Mormon is divinely inspired. And there's a question, reasonable compared to what? Well, I said reasonable compared to the Bible. Right? If Christians are going to say, because this was very much addressed towards a Christian audience, right? So if Christians are going to say that it's reasonable to believe that the Bible is divinely inspired, well, why? And if you're gonna give your reasons, well, let me give 5 areas that I think can act as solid reasons that a person can give for why the Book of Mormon is, and I say divinely inspired. Okay, so. Because there are Christians who think it's demonically inspired. They'll agree with all the miracles, everything, and they'll say it's all from the devil, right? So I have to prove both those points, and I'll show that in a minute why it's important. So I wanted to present archaeological evidence, historical evidence, literary evidence, eyewitness testimony, and the spiritual fruits in the lives of those who read it. Now, there were those, like, I know that Robert Boylan and Stephen Smoot and stuff, one of the critiques that they made of me, and I think that I wanted to address this because I wanted them to understand why I made it. They said, I didn't really like the fruits argument, because, it isn't just because something is good for someone that means that it's true. And it's sort of like, you guys, that's not what I'm saying. In that section, if you watch my opening statement, I say, how do we know that the Book of Mormon is divinely inspired? Because there are people who will agree with all of the miraculous stuff, and they say it's all a deception of the devil. But the problem with that argument is, then you have the issue of, wait a minute, this causes people to clearly become more Christ-like. And then, because it wasn't, is this book historical? That wasn't the debate. The debate was, is it divinely inspired? And Jesus Christ answers the question of how we can know if something is divinely inspired by fruits.
And I want to hop in here as well, because that's kind of Robert Boylan's thing. Was, as an academic, he was saying the debate topic I would have done, because is it divinely inspired is too broad. The debate topic I would have done is the Book of Mormon historical, which is a great academic debate topic. But the whole point of me introducing this debate to Trent and trying to make it happen, and ultimately making it happen, was to introduce the Book of Mormon as a evangelism tool to a broader audience that normally doesn't get it. And so you've got to go to the, is it divinely inspired? It can't just be some sort of academic exercise of, does this book match such and such historical criteria or archaeological criteria that we set up? And so I think for your lay person, they'll find something like Mulek if they didn't know it before. And if they are an honest enough actor to look into what Jacob said, that they'll be like, whoa, Mulek. But then when it comes to like, this book apparently has the power to change somebody's life. It might have the power to change your life. Then it's, oh, okay, now I actually have like a personal reason to maybe look into this a little bit more.
Hey, Brad, can you say what you want to say and then catch us up on Super Chats?
Yes. So I want to argue with you on the fruits argument. I think there's a better way to do it, but put a pin in that for later. Travis Delaney said something that I think goes along really well with your first argument here, Jacob. He says, how did Trent not know about some dudes digging up some dirt ponies that were pre-Columbus? His anti-Mormon script was a little outdated. And I was surprised by this when he's like, they don't have horses. I'm like, did you really not research this? That showed up like in the past year. This is big. If you were researching effectively, I feel like you would have seen that. Maybe he just saw, maybe there's search engine optimization on the older stuff that makes it so that you catch that first. But like, he completely missed that there are horse bones that were found in Mesoamerica, and it's like in the Texas Journal of Science.
That was really my only frustration with watching this, is Trent Horn is so erudite in so many of his kind of arguments against atheism and arguments against secularism and godlessness and so on and so forth. He's so capable of going 2, 3, and 4 levels deep that when he only gave kind of like cursory recycled trope anti-Mormon responses, I was really disappointed. I almost wanted to walk him through it, because like him saying, oh, there's no horses in South America, therefore Book of Mormon false, is no different than us having said the 1980s atheist version, which was, oh, there was no real Daniel in the lion's den because there was never any lions in Jerusalem. That's just anachronism.
Yes.
Until they found the Eurasian lion, and the archaeological record proved that the Eurasian lion was eating so many children in so many villages. They hunted it to extinction until there was no more Eurasian lion. But guess what? At the time of Daniel, all the way up till the time of Alexander the Great, there were Eurasian lions. So, I mean, to have him come out, I kind of felt like I was debating a 1980s evangelical, like the Green Book that Jeff Durbin, the anti-Mormon Burger King, holds. And I was kind of disappointed. I almost wanted to say like, okay, like Trent, so here's the Catholic angle. Like, okay, so we're the only people that can claim authority. So what you really need to do is don't go archaeological, because half your relics completely unbelievable, half of them pretty cool, you know what I'm saying? But you don't want to go that argument. What we really need to do is sift through this level, which then goes lower to this level, and the real crux of the argument is down here, where only you and us can exist, and the Protestants can't. Like this, and it's going to be up to the individual to pray, which now makes this an argument of epistemology. And now we got to discuss, how can people know things? How can people even know if the Pope is the vicar of Christ? How can people even know if the Holy Spirit can, like there's so much depth, and the only church that really can curate that much depth in their repertoire of religious connection with God, frankly, is the church with the longest tradition that's had to wrestle with these issues, and that's Catholicism. So to hear him just throw out a bunch of like Richard Dawkins light, like, oh, well, Martin Harris had a couple of bad quotes and he was very just an unreliable witness.
Right.
It was just like, what?
He also mischaracterized a couple of those. He said stuff about Martin Harris leaving the Saints when the letter that he was talking about literally is about Martin Harris leaving the Saints because it was dangerous for him to be there, not leaving the church the way that he was framing it in the argument in the debate.
So
David Whitmer
real quick,
or Martin
quick,
Harris?
Yeah, I think he was talking about David Whitmer. You might be talking about.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm
Mixed them up.
managing for chats.
But this is so just again, kind of the high level. I made the argument that I made, right? Which was, these are the evidences, and if you argue against them, you're going to end up arguing like an atheist if you're a Catholic. But then what he did was he basically Gish galloped all the things that he knew about the church that were out there, with the idea that if I can debunk Joseph Smith as a prophet and this church as true, then the Book of Mormon goes with it. So he wasn't working at the Book of Mormon. He was working at the level of, I'm going to attack things outside of the Book of Mormon. And then if those are false, that will disprove the Book of Mormon. But again, and what he did is he listed a big, long list. And one frustration I had in the debate, and for those of you who are watching and were like, man, Jacob, like, why didn't you address this? Or why didn't you hit him on that? And I'll give you one word why. Time. In a debate, he had 15 minutes to lay out an entire list this long of every trope ranging from blacks in the priesthood to Kinderhook plates to Book of Abraham. And then I get 7 minutes to try and address it. And so what I have to do is I got to pick. I got to say, okay, which one of these actually should I address? And which ones can I just leave it to people to just Google and like really quickly find out that he's wrong? So that's what I had to do.
I can throw a wrench in here with a super chat. Living Mom Birth says, what's up with not mentioning the Bat Creek Stone, etc.?
I'm less familiar with that one, and that one's not one that I'm willing to necessarily stake things. I think we have better evidence on. So here's another thing in the debate. It was wild. I was preparing, and Luke can vouch for this because I said it multiple times as we were preparing for this. I have a problem. I have 15 minutes and I have so much evidence. I don't know what to do with it. It is literally insane how much evidence there is out there.
We were going back and forth arguing about like sentence, like should this clause be in this sentence or not in the opening statement.
Oh, wow.
Like Jacob gave Hayden and I, Hayden Carroll helped a little bit, but gave us like a draft of the opening statement. Like I read it through. It's 14 and a half minutes long when I talk, and I only have 15 minutes, so I don't want to make it any longer. How do I work it? And we're like, well, maybe we should explain chiasm a little more so people can understand what that is. But that means you would need to take this sentence out over here. And it was, so you're just very restricted for time, and you want to make sure you hit enough points, but you also want to make sure that you dive deep enough into each point that the person remembers it later on in the debate, and so that they actually understand why it's a good point.
And which points
while
are the
also
most...
keeping the internal logic consistent, like making sure they understand that you had 5 points, what those 5 points were, and then also kind of defending Trent preemptively. So it's just like a lot to shove into 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And you have to curate that really well, and then to on the fly in less than 15 minutes respond to their 15 minutes of stuff. It's just, you can't do it, especially if he Gish gallops everything like Trent.
Yeah. And that's something I really liked, actually, Jacob. I think your opening statement was incredibly effective. I think you won in the opening statement, because not only did you establish your 5 points, you also brought up, okay, here's exactly what he's going to do. And he ended up, Gish galloping you. Gish galloping? How is that even pronounced? I've heard
Gish
it both
gallop,
ways.
like a horse.
Yeah, it's a
Gish gallop?
Yeah.
I like Gish gallop though, but
Yeah.
I think that like
Dude.
as he was just firing through all of these, it kind of just became overwhelming to the point that I was like, okay, so you just don't think it's inspired, but none of them really stuck for me. And I wish that he had been able to substantially like focus on something a little bit more, because at least you had given the 5 things that you were able to tie things back into. You guys talked a little bit about archaeology, and you talked a little bit about fruits, but like it it just ended up a little scattered, I think, because of the way that he handled his opening statement.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Now, the only thing I'll say also about the opening statement is I can't believe I'm even saying this, but you have a lot of strengths, Jacob. One of them is not winning the optics argument. In fact, if anything, if anybody has a potential of coming across like an angry Matt Walsh, every negative stereotype of a MAGA Mormon hunting, trapping, like just easy to lampoon, Carhartt wearing mountain man, you know what I'm saying? Like it's you. And I was like, I mean, of all my friends have strengths, one of your strengths is your intellect and your knowledge base is second to none. Also, you can actually stand the debate format. So boring, I can't even freaking stand it. I wouldn't even make it through a debate, a formalized one at least. So it's kind of weird. I didn't anticipate seeing this as one of your strengths. I thought you'd have some really great counter punches, and I thought you'd have some very well-crafted sentences that made people think. But I feel like you won the optics argument, which I never saw coming. And the average person, to the uninitiated that doesn't even know what an anachronism is, to the uninitiated that don't know who the manuscript witnesses are of the Old or the New Testament, or who the 8 witnesses are of our faith, it just looks kind of like a verbal tennis match. And if this guy confidently launches an attack, but then this guy confidently launches a counterattack, and then he launches a counterattack, if this guy doesn't come up with it, they kind of think, oh, well, he loses. Well, you guys were successfully going back and forth, for example, on Martin Harris. There was just one difference. You seemed pretty happy about most of your exchanges, and you seemed very confident in a non-snarky way. And he was definitely coming from kind of a like, I'm almost annoyed that we're considering this.
Yes.
And that we're considering you. Yes. And that body language kind of very much betrayed his position, and optically, because I have to watch tons of political debates. I've helped a million political campaigns get started, and it's very interesting to see what who the uninitiated think won a debate. And usually it's the person that came across as happier. And I think you came across as just like happier, nicer, more content, dare I say more Christian.
Now, if anybody has the Jacob Hansen firefighter 2024 calendar on their wall, Jacob Hansen's optics, always on point. Always on point. I've got one of those. I got one of those for my wife and one for me. We have 2 separate ones in our bathroom. Also, Reverend Tom Heathershaw is a Catholic priest in the live chat. We would like to put a W in the chat for our distinguished guest from the Catholic faith who's here in our live chat. Reverend, welcome. We're so glad to have you here. Thank you for the service that you provide to God's children.
Wait, isn't Reverend a Protestant term, and isn't Catholic mean priest? I thought Reverend was Lutheran.
He says Reverend Tom, or Rev. It says Rev. I guess that could mean like reviewer. That could mean revered. That could mean reverential. I don't know. It says Rev Tom Heathershaw. I'm a Catholic priest, and I appreciate your debate with Tom Horn. Enjoy learning about LDS faith. That guy in the baseball cap is hot. He makes my teeth sweat. Weird. Is he talking about?
Whoa.
What?
Yeah, which baseball cap, bro? No.
Back to the super chat.
Could be both. Could be both.
Get back to super chats.
Corey Richmond says, nice to see both Luke Babyface Hansen and Jacob the Chad Hansen. Brad, I enjoy falling asleep to your voice every night while listening to The Dragon Thief.
Adorable.
Yeah.
Thank you, Corey. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Stephen Diamond follows up with a shout out to the WardRadio Discord writers group. We got Brad and others. We should do a video with Brad and the writers group up. Also, Temple Rocks, our obligatory Stephen Diamond Temple Rocks.
The name of his autobiography, of Stephen Diamond's autobiography, Temple Rocks.
I love it.
And then Puerto Rockwell says, did Pints with Aquinas retract his book burning comment?
No, okay, I was curious about that. I got a story about this. Okay, hold on. I'll tell the story because I talked to them about it.
Yeah.
So Matt Fradd, first of all, I'm not disappointed too much because he's a busy guy, but I didn't get as much time to talk with him. The time that I got to talk with Matt, though, he was awesome. He's just like he's like online, super friendly, super blunt, and like genuine as can be. like super cool guy. He showed up, he said hello when we started getting set up, and then when we were done, he had to catch a flight, so he had to leave. So
I think actually it was he had just come in from a flight, and then his daughter was like sick or something.
Oh yeah,
so he
yeah.
wanted to leave and be with her as soon as possible.
Yeah, it was something like that.
Afterwards.
But anyway,
Yeah.
I was like, someone told me I should get him a Book of Mormon and a fire extinguisher and bring him as a gift. I thought
Nice.
it was brilliant. And I thought about
That's
doing
awesome.
it, but I was like, look, I don't know this guy. So if I show up and the first thing I do is I walk up to him with a Book of Mormon and a fire extinguisher, I don't know how this is going to go. James White, I know, wouldn't have taken that well.
No.
And so I was a little nervous. So I went up and I just talked to him and I told him, I was like, and he laughed. I was like, someone told me I should have brought you this. And he kind of laughed because I could tell he was kind of a cool guy. And then, but then he looked at me and he goes, but you do understand what I mean though, right? Like if you had a book that was evil, like you would burn it, right? Like that makes total sense. And so to him, he was like totally like still on board with like, yeah, like if it's evil, but he said it to me in the most genuine way. Like, don't you see where I'm coming from? Like I'm not crazy for that, right?
Like,
and
would you?
like, well, I think the Quran isn't correct, but I want to read it and debunk it. I don't want to burn it. And
Would you burn a copy of the CES letter?
No.
debunk it.
That's
I
giving
would
it-
make
that's
a
giving it full
class.
credit.
Let me show you how dumb this is, everybody.
There needs to be a
And
class.
see,
Oh, sorry.
that I think is the much better approach, right? Is to let all of the truth or arguments out and then refute them. So yeah. Good
Well,
job. We're
one
not
last
book burners
point.
here at Ward Radio.
One last point. Well, first
But
of
I
all,
have one.
the joke that if you're on the side of the people burning books, that's not usually a good sign. But the other point,
Are we the baddies?
yeah, are we the baddies? The other one on the kind of the visual or the optics of it. Okay, I'm a nobody. Okay, I'm not like I have a YouTube channel that I started a couple of years ago. I'm not a scholar, and I want everyone to know this too. Like I do not claim to be a scholar in any way. I rely on scholars. I look at myself more as a communicator and someone who's good with rhetoric and arguments and things like that. Like I will say that that's something that I think I have a decent skill at, but I'm not a scholar. I don't know as much. I have to rely on people and I want a huge shout out to Stephen Smoot, Robert Boylan, Blake Osler, obviously both Luke and Hayden helped me a bunch. Dan Peterson, he didn't help me directly, but I watched him on big shout out to Stephen Murphy with Mormonism with the Murph, who did episodes with Dan Peterson and others where I got to see these arguments. So big shout out to that. But remember, I'm a nobody. And I'm going on to Pints with Aquinas with a guy who's a professional apologist. Trent does this for a living. And he has
He did.
Does he have 2 or 3 master's degrees? And he's brilliant. I give all the credit to Matt. Like to Trent. He is a sharp guy, good arguer. I think he just in this one, he didn't take it seriously enough, I think.
Here's a thing that I think may have happened. So my dad, he's a general practitioner, doctor, and he witnessed something fascinating in medical school in which specialists would get very overconfident in things outside of their field because they knew so much about their field that they were like, oh yeah, no, I know everything about this stuff. And if it was minorly adjacent, sure, yeah, I can answer that question, even if they kind of couldn't. And so I think there might be an aspect of that going on here because Trent struck me as a really intelligent guy, but he was absolutely recycling arguments that it just showed me that he hadn't really, or at least he hadn't studied it in a way that he was looking to refute the best arguments against the Book of Mormon, because so many of those were like stuff you would find on Reddit, you know?
It was so he in our dinner that we had the night before, he literally mentioned that exact thing. He said it's like one of the things I have a hard time with is staying on top of it because like he's like I have to like debate Muslims and then I have to debate like, witnesses and he tries to not just pigeonhole himself into one particular topic, and so he tries to go broad. And in this case, which is part of the point I wanted to make to people, I said my goal here is what I want people to walk away from this with is to go, hey, maybe we need to actually take this Mormonism stuff more seriously, because Trent, I think, underestimated
Yeah.
what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so, and I'm not saying that there aren't, like, I think if we had a round two, he would do a lot better. Like, I'd be very nervous to do a round two because I think he would do his research and he's a sharp dude. So I just, again, if there's a lesson in this at all, I just want people to know, like, and this is what I wanted people to say, stop laughing at this. You're laughing at something that changes people's lives for the better, and frankly, that can be debated at the highest levels by someone who's not even a professional. Okay? Like, don't, like, stop laughing. You don't know what you're talking about most of the time. All you're doing is you're reading crap on Reddit, you're going through the recycled tropes, and then you think that, oh, well, this is just so obviously stupid, but you don't know about any of the positive arguments for this book.
There was only one thing, and this is probably only one of two criticisms I have, and these do not matter, Jacob. You threw a no-hitter, so I'm not gonna say
I wouldn't go that far. There are some areas I wish I had done better in.
Yeah, the only thing, like, that I was thinking that I would have added had you consulted with me, and now I'm feeling like I was left out of the party. I noticed that on that big list of everybody, apparently Cardinellis didn't rise to the standard.
Hey,
so
me neither, Cardin.
yeah,
You-
thanks.
of
Yeah.
course you're saying-
So, I'm going to take Brad out to
talk about
lunch.
this stuff too.
Yeah. So anyway, is I would just the thing I always say with Catholics that want to, I mean, I don't always say it, but I would have said, is we're really the only church that is in the position to say that we are like the early Catholics and the early Christians. The Greeks thought that we were crazy, and the Romans thought that we were crazy, and they persecuted us to such a degree that the Romans would throw us into colosseums, and the Greeks speaking philosophers would quote our scripture and say how stupid we are for believing that the weak will inherit the earth and that you should turn the other cheek and all that other silly stuff. Like, you're coming from a position where, like, it's really been hundreds of years, and our religious persecution, like, we know what it's like to suffer religious persecution much closer in the rearview mirror than you do. You know what I'm saying? And our arguments right now are really like your most early Christian arguments. The predominant religion disrespects you, yet you persevere in light of that disrespect. And you actually are trying to tell the establishment, stop mocking us because this actually makes sense. And you're just rehearsing these, like, tropes from philosophers that we've already debunked. And I would have thought it would be really interesting to see how you could make modern Mormonism compared to early Catholicism and early Christianity. But I mean, whatever, you didn't, but it's fine. In the future, we should try it,
If you have more time, you can do a lot of different things.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is actually the sense that I got. It seemed to me like Trent was going through so many different topics, the Gish gallop, not to only try and have, like, this overwhelming weight of evidence, like, look at all these different problems I brought up, there's no way this could be true, but also because he didn't have any depth on any of the individual topics. So, like, when
when he
like
talked with you,
on David Whitmer particularly, this was one particular point of the debate where Trent was trying to say, well, in this one interview, I have the source of David saying that he had only seen it with spiritual eyes to this one guy, and Jacob's like, Trent, the thing I was just quoting back to you was the handwritten letter, the first-hand account, not the second-hand account that you're quoting, the first-hand account that was directly responding to that. Directly responding to that
guy
said,
took me out of context.
Yeah. And Jacob could only quote, if you actually go and read what David Whitmer said, he goes on for like 3 paragraphs. He makes it extensively clear that what the statement said in the 3 witness statement was exactly what he believed then, believes now, and intends to believe until his dying day.
And I want to say, I think this was the best of the arguments that you made, Jacob. It was the comparison of the witnesses to the gold plates to the witnesses of the resurrection. That was fantastic. And it's fascinating to see because you shared with us that, what was the guy's name? Pine, the tree, the
Pine
atheist.
Creek. He's Pine
Creek guy, yeah.
Pine
So
Creek.
it was fascinating to watch that because he was like, based on the logical consistency, I'm not going to believe either of those, right? But for me, I'm sitting here like, based on the logical consistency, I'm absolutely going to believe both of these because I believe in the resurrection. I have to take the Book of Mormon seriously. And I really hope that that's like the key takeaway for people who watch that debate, is that they recognize that standard. We have better evidence for
Yes,
the Book of Mormon.
Pine Creek literally said that in his video, which is so shocking to see the atheists go, just so everyone knows, based on watching this debate, there is better evidence for Mormonism than there is for Christianity, in the sense of when you boil down Christianity, Christianity comes down to, did the resurrection happen? And the number one argument that they make, which I think is compelling, by the way, when I actually look at for the case for the resurrection, those sorts of things, when Trent argues it, it is compelling.
I agree.
But the thing is that it's based on witnesses, and then you stop and you go, but wait a minute, we have more witnesses. They're firsthand. They're not anonymous. They're over and over dealing with people attacking their witness and them coming back and again over and over reaffirming it. And I think where Trent really got into trouble in the debate was when he would do things where he would say things that just are like, wait a minute, like, you obviously have this wrong, or you're making it like, he brought up View of the Hebrews, for example. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those ones that you just go, oh no, like, don't do like that one. Like, really, like, go have you even read, you haven't read View of the Hebrews, have you?
No,
because
no.
When you actually look at it, and I did, it was funny, Luke and I in the research, I had never actually read View of the Hebrews. And then I started reading, I literally got like a page in, and I was like, wait a minute.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is
It
not
doesn't
it.
take long. It doesn't
It's a
take
joke.
long.
It's
a joke.
It literally is so bad. And so when you
oh,
hear somebody like Trent make that argument, you go, oh crap, you don't know. And so any of the arguments you make from here on out become suspect.
That was my thing, because I was looking at him, and when he kept on fighting, he's like, no, but I have this quote about Martin Harris from somebody in the 1830s. And I kind of wanted to tell him, well, that anti-Mormons have existed for hundreds of years, and they've written books. By the way, anti-Semites have existed and have written books for hundreds of years. You can't just be arguing with a rabbi about whether or not rabbinical Judaism is true or not, and then say, yeah, well, no, hold on, I've got a quote. There's this book, Mein Kampf. And in Mein Kampf, he says that there's been a cabal, and that they're trying to dominate the world, and that the banking system is, and it's just like, well, okay, but bro, you know what that book is, right? Yeah, no, like, it's a book it's contemporary to the period, and it's, no, bro, you don't want to be quoting that book. It's gonna make you look really, really bad. No, but you don't understand. In this book, I have a quote that, no, dog, you don't know what you're about to do. But he just kept quoting it, and it's like, you realize E.D. Howe's Unveiled Mormonism is akin to kind of like a Richard Spencer book, trying to justify the chants in Charlottesville. Like, dog. Like, I loved how you said, Jacob, that this is below you. And I kind of almost wanted to pull Trent aside in an intermission, and I almost wanted to say, like, yo, Trent, my man, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're awesome and you got so much going for you here, you know, but like, these aren't the arguments you want to be making, you know what I'm saying? Because like, they're just going to be so easily debunked afterwards. And I don't know, that was, I couldn't believe that just somebody that has been so deep, like I said earlier, and I don't want to repeat myself, that's been able to give such deep arguments on other things previously, like, didn't know that, anti-Mormons have existed for a long time. And guess what? So have anti-Christians. So let's apply the rhetoric that you have given to the anti-Christians and the nuance that you've given to the atheists and to the Greek-speaking philosophers that spoke against early Christians and the Roman philosophers that wrote against the early Christians. Like, I can't just quote the Gnostics and say, oh, well, Catholicism isn't true because I've got a quote from Valentinius. It's like, that really surprised me.
So one thing that he said also that, and you guys didn't see this because it wasn't on the camera, but I was looking at his face as I said this. He quoted Bruce R. McConkie saying that the Catholic Church was the great core of all the earth.
Yes,
and
yes.
I was looking at him, and I did. That was where I said, Trent, like, this is below you because I know that that when he released that statement, the first presidency of the church told him, "You're wrong, take that out." And so in the later editions, they had to take it out. And I know that Trent knew that. Like, there's a tiny chance he didn't know. But when I looked in his eyes, and you guys couldn't see this on camera, I could tell there was in his eyes like I feel like guilty because I know this
my
is
impression,
a good argument.
The thing was,
my
Jacob, you
impression
did
of-
even better. You did even better than that because you said that this great and abominable comes from the Book of Mormon, and it says that there's only 2 churches. Obviously, there's more than 2 institutions on the earth. So saying the Catholic Church is this one and the other one's this one, the Book of Mormon says everybody belongs to either one or the other. So the whole premise doesn't make any sense. So like you hit him twice really hard. And I think that was one of the biggest moments in the debate for you. And it was during like the Q&A session, kind of like I don't know what you even call it, like the halftime or something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've
will
got.
say-
Oh, sorry.
Brad, I think has
Oh, I just want to say one thing about this, and then we can catch up on some more super chats. I think it was really fascinating because I feel like there's maybe some emotional baggage there on feeling like your church calls us the great and abominable church, right? Even if he was censured by the first presidency, there's like still all of these people who lived that, believed that, and thought that way, right? And so like I think that there's maybe some emotional baggage there for Trent, feeling like, oh, hey, no, Mormons have disparaged us unfairly, and they call us abominable when I have seen all of the good things that the Catholic Church has done, right? So I think that there's maybe something there for him that makes it harder for him to listen to what we have to say when he's like, no, you think we're the great and abominable church, right?
Well, yeah, and also I kind of wanted to almost jump in and say, like, Trent, when you do this kind of thing, like these low-hanging kind of Google anti-Mormonism, the sound bites are good, and that's really the reason why the cream of the crop rises to the top, but so does the scum. And the anti-Mormon scum that's risen to the top of the Google SEO calendar has basically been the sound bites that travel the farthest because they're the most salacious. But I almost wanted to pull Trent aside and say, like, look, bro, you saying this is like me coming in and being like, Catholicism isn't true because the Bible says, like, you shouldn't worship false idols and they pray to saints, and that's false idol worship. Checkmate, Catholicism, false. And it's
I
like,
love Cardin's Sebastian voice.
yeah, well,
I love this Sebastian voice. It's one of my favorite voices.
No, well, it's just like the wannabe faux erudite voice, like the coffee shop academic, And I almost want to tell him, I was like, look, bro, I know that when the Protestants say this about you, that it's a straw man, that intercessory prayers, you're not actually praying to the saint, you're praying to God, but through the saint to operate on your behalf. And so I get this isn't idol worship. I'm not going to make that argument because I understand that there's more depth behind this. So like maybe you don't want to do this. However, now is a good time potentially to argue about in the name of whom we pray. You know what I'm saying? Now, let's go one level deeper. And he just really never went one level deeper. So, Brad, catch us up on Super Chats, man.
You got it.
By the way,
Luke had something to say that applied here.
Okay.
What?
I think it applied. When
Luke,
you're
say
talking
what
about
you
the
got to
great and
say.
abominable church,
Wait, but hold on.
I'm fast. I can go.
No, I
talk
know.
quickly.
But you've got to read this last. I just got savaged by Heart and Light that just joined the chat. So
You got it. I'll start with that and then
after
go back.
Luke says what he
Okay.
said, you got to
Okay.
read Heart and Light. Okay, keep going.
All right. So, yeah, Brad, when you're talking about them being offended about the great and abominable church thing, I can understand that. Jacob didn't say that though, so it's kind of like, why is he bringing it up? But there was something that Trent said in a previous video, and then he said it again twice in this debate. That was just very disappointing. I think it was the most disappointed I was in Trent for the debate, and it was that Joseph Smith died in a shootout in the Carthage jail. He was no martyr. He said that. I think it was in his like prepared opening statement, and then he did it again later. And Catholic Answers apologist Joe Heschmeyer in like a prepared video said he like died in a shootout during an attempted jail escape in Carthage, and the shootout thing is just so like deeply insulting.
That means you have zero idea what you're talking about. If you make that argument,
he had a wife and kids. He had his friends in the jail cell with him. There was 150 to 200 men in blackface storming up the stairs with muskets. what are you talking about? Like, it's
It's
very disappointed in Trent for that.
Did
one.
Joan
That
of
one
Arc?
was-
Is
Let
Joan
me-
of Arc? Hold on.
I'm
No, I'll let
jumping
you
on this
talk.
one.
I'll let you talk. But
Okay.
is Joan of Arc not a martyr because she led a campaign against the English? Because she wielded a sword? Is she not a martyr? Is she not a saint? Bro, half of your saints were warrior priests, dude. Like, that's not
The
a
good ones.
disqualifier. Yeah, like, that is
So-
deeply insulting. And I was like, that was the only other thing where I was like, this is below you. Okay, Jacob, go.
So this one was one, again, talking about emotional reactions to things, that it bothered me. And the problem is that Trent doesn't realize that it so discredited him, because Latter-day Saints, you might not know everything about the Kinderhook plates, but you know what happened to Joseph Smith. And because, well, there's a few, first of all, there's the untruth. Joseph Smith initially left Nauvoo to escape because he knew if they took him to Carthage, he was outside of the protection of Nauvoo. And that was basically a death sentence. And then he said, if my life is of no worth to my friends, it's of no worth to me. And he ended up going back. Okay? And he submitted himself to go to prison. And he knew that in so doing, he said, it's like a lamb to the slaughter. And so, okay, that's a big deal. Then he's in there with his brother and two of his dear friends. Okay? And then, so what happens? Someone smuggles into that jail cell a gun to protect themselves.
which
And-
Carden has one.
Yeah, which Carden has one, by the way.
Yeah.
Anyway, but he
Should be on the
smuggles in the
desk by
gun.
you, Carden. If
And you
it's
know what?
rare.
Here comes the mob. They're coming to kill you, your brother, and your friends. And you
And your
decide to take
people
a
are in danger just down the road. Your whole people, all of Nauvoo's in danger just
Yeah.
down the road.
and you decide to shoot at the mob as they're coming at you. It's like it's like the last stand. Like, I don't care. I'm not going without a fight. I'm going to give it to a few of you before you come. That's a hero. Okay? And you know what? And then guess what happened? Then they brace up against the door. They shoot through the door and they hit his brother, one of the witnesses of the Book of Mormon, thank you very much, right in the face. So Hiram Smith, just a few years before that, said, I was willing to die rather than to deny that I had held those plates. He said that. Well,
And he
got
said,
out of
I'm
the-
still willing to die.
and he said,
And
I'm
he
still...
read from the Book of Mormon, I pray that he would give unto the Gentiles grace, turn the leaf of that page down as he marched off to Carthage, and then was preaching to the guards the day before the mob ran up the stairs.
Yeah, this is a sincere, good man, and he gets shot in the face. Joseph Smith is holding his dying brother in his arms with a mob there, and he goes to the window because he realizes they're after me, and maybe if I can get out of here, I can save some lives. Goes to that window, gets shot, falls out of the window. He's still not dead, and they come up and they murder him. They shoot him a bunch more times. And your characterization of that horrible death, I don't care who you are. That was an innocent man who was just murdered. And your characterization of that is, oh, he died in a shootout. I'm like, Trent, if that was your son who had been killed by an anti-Catholic mob, would you have characterized it that way? I don't care who you are. This is wrong.
And-
it's wrong to talk about the death of an innocent person like that.
And then he
Sorry if I'm fired up, but that one I was legit. I had to hold back.
So
Well,
That
I was
pissed me off.
pissed off too, because he said at the end, he's like, well, and he died in a shootout, or no, sorry, later on he said, yeah, well, he just kept lying to try and preserve, like, unfortunately he was just trying to keep Mormonism lasting long enough to win his presidential campaign.
Oh my
Yeah.
And
gosh.
I was
yes,
like,
that one,
oh,
my brother.
That shows how little he knows. Like, see, it's moments like these that had me thinking, like, Trent, I based on the way that he's talking, I don't think he's stupid, but he's sounding incredibly stupid making some of these arguments. He's clearly unaware that Joseph Smith was writing to all sorts of people trying to get their help for the plights against what's happening to his people, right? And when no one will listen, he runs on his issue, trying to get things to go. He's not trying to win the presidency in this, although James K. Polk, worst opponent ever. Maybe he had a shot. The thing is, he actually was trying to get the national attention to say, hey, we should actually protect freedom of religion. We aren't doing that. And it's
free
just
the
ridiculous.
slaves.
So-
And free the
so-
slaves.
Just saying
So
that one.
I want
So-
to just before
Yeah,
we
his
go
platform
away
was
from
the bomb.
Joseph, before we go away from Joseph's character, when we went to go to this debate, it was in Steubenville, Ohio. And I was like, oh, Ohio. And I was like, wait a minute, Kirtland's in Ohio. I wonder how far this is away. And I looked it up. And I found it was only 2.5 hours away. And we had a day beforehand when Luke and I were there. And so I was like, let's go to Kirtland. I'd never been there before. And I have to tell you guys, I had a deeply spiritual experience just before this debate visiting Kirtland, Ohio. I went first to the temple, which was in and of itself an incredible thing to go in there and see these incredibly sacred places and then to sit in the very room and sing with the tour, The Spirit of God, in that very room where they first sang that hymn at that dedication. That was powerful. But what surprised me even more was this. We went down after that. We had about an hour left. Like, what are we going to do? Let's go wander around. And we come around and there's the Newell K. Whitney store. And I'm like, oh, I know some things about this, but I knew some of the things about it. And we went in, and it was funny. We didn't have time for a tour, but there was a tour group who was just going in, and we're like, can we join you? And they're like, yeah. So we go in and we get the tour of the Whitney store. And I was so blown away by that place because we went upstairs to where Joseph and Emma lived upstairs above that store. And I was in there and there was their bedroom. And then there's this room. And they said right there at that desk, that's Joseph's desk. That was church headquarters. And it's the most ordinary place in the whole world. There's this desk that's sitting there. And I was going, this is where it all began. And then they took us around the corner into the room behind there, which is the School of the Prophets. And I can tell you guys right now, the School of the Prophets in the Newell K. Whitney store is about as ordinary of a back closet room as you've ever been in your life. Your deacon's quorum, who meets in that little room in the back corner of the church, that is the equivalent of what the School of the Prophets were, where Brigham Young, Parley Pratt, Wilford Woodruff, and some of these heroes all got their start. And I was in that room and I just could not help but feel like this, from this place, went something that changed the world. And it was, I just had this enormous thing. And then we learned about this. We went up and we saw the graves of Joseph and Emma's twins. I have twins. And Joseph and Emma buried their twins in just about 100 yards from their house. And I was, because they died in childbirth. And then I learned that at that same time, Joseph and Emma adopted, that same day that their twins were born and died, across town, the Murdoch twins were born and their mother died in childbirth. And Joseph and Emma decided to adopt those twins. And I was thinking like, man, what kind of a character do you have to be? These were people that they just is a new convert, like just lifelong friends or something. And Joseph and Emma take in this poor man who has a bunch of other children. He's got these 2 twin babies. He just lost his wife. And Joseph and Emma take those twins and they take them back to their little house in the Newell K. Whitney store. And in that, they have a table there. And at the table, there's Joseph's chair and Emma's chair. And then there's the high chairs for the twins. And they raised those little twins. And then a year later, when one of those twins was really young that they had adopted, Joseph and Emma went to a farm nearby, the Johnson farm, and Joseph was in the middle of the night. You can imagine this. A mob came and breaks into the house, takes him out with his wife, obviously probably screaming in terror. They beat him nearly to death. They tar and feather him. And then to cap it off, from the exposure from that event, one of those 2 twins died. So Joseph, in the course of a year, loses his 2 baby twins. He loses the Murdoch twins that he had adopted, one of them, and he's beaten to a bloody pulp, tarred and feathered. And I couldn't help, my dad actually texted me, and I thought a lot about it. He said, that sounds like the kind of man who needs to have his honor defended. And so I went into that debate feeling like, you know what? There's a lot that I need to represent here, because there's a good man who's being slandered in all of it.
Luke.
And I went to, because I had my moment that was kind of like that after the debate. Jacob and I went to the airport. I was just so happy, this thing that I had kind of gotten started and took over a year to happen, and such a big platform. It has 50,000 views about at the time we're speaking. And so Jacob's flight was about an hour before mine. So I just was kind of walking around the airport, going, listening to the restoration hymns, High on a Mountaintop, They the Builders of the Nation, Praise to the Man. And I wouldn't say it's like a communication, but I just got this deep sense that I had participated in defending and kind of spreading the defending Joseph Smith and what he did, and Moroni and what he did, and Nephi and what he did, like all these people who sacrificed. I mean, you read the end of the Book of Mormon, and it's heavy what Mormon and Moroni were going through, and to have people not take it as seriously as they should is disappointing sometimes. And so I just got this sense, and it kind of made me tear up a little bit, that I had participated in a way that was suited to my capacities to spread that news and defend them to the world. And I was just, it's a good feeling, and I think people should try and do what they can in their own spheres to make that defense as well. And not just because they were like good people, but because they are witnesses of Christ and are trying to bring him more fully to the people of the world.
And that's actually, again, this is probably one of the last things I'll say, and then you guys can go to town. But this is another reason why I thought, dude, Trent, this is below you. Because that mob, it's not like it was full of Catholics. Catholics existed and have coexisted with members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, aka Mormons, for a really long time. In fact, the Nauvoo Charter specifically carved out protections for the other persecuted class by the Protestants, the whats? The Catholics. There was like there were actually protections for the Catholics in the Nauvoo Charter. And I almost wanted to say, like, Trent, like, all of these arguments these are all Protestant arguments or atheist arguments. Like, this is not the argument the Catholics should be making against the Book of Mormon, because it also betrays the trust and the kindness that Mormons offer you. Mormons and Jews marched around Dodger Stadium. I broadcast when the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence wanted to disrespect the Virgin Mary and the cross, and were having male strippers grinding and twerking up on Jesus on a cross and mocking Catholicism in like an overt act of religious bigotry. We're not talking doing a funny skit about Jesus. We're not talking about having a gay Joan of Arc on SNL. We're talking like I am trying to offend you because I hate you and my group is anti-religious. And I've marched with the Knights of Columbus multiple times. You know, and so for you to disrespect Joseph Smith, a man that made literally a city that was a haven for persecuted Catholics as much as persecuted Mormons, you know, and then from who? The Protestants, and then to just rehearse a bunch of Protestant tropes about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, I was like, bro, like, you know, we're really on the same team at the end of the day. Like, let's argue epistemology and those small differences, but don't take their arguments. What? Because if we did that to you, the Sisters of a Perpetual Indulgence would still be running roughshod, and we would be mocking you with them. And no, the enemy of my enemy is not my friend. So anyway, keep going. Who's next? Oh, no, Brad, can you catch us up on those super chats? We're really behind. Oh, did I lose Brad?
Yeah, I got you.
Oh, okay. Whew.
Here we go. So we'll start off with S. Moore 05030 saying, thank you for defending our faith in Joseph Smith's honor. Thank you, S. Moore 05030.
Rock on. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you guys. I think you did a really good job with that. Next up, we got Nicole Terry saying, unlike COVID-19, you should share the WardRadio live stream with your grandma.
Yeah. Dude, I got to show you our analytics. We are exploding in the 65 plus demographic.
Are they the ones watching the Parasites or Literal Demons episode?
It's really funny. We're blowing up with Spotify, and some of the other platforms taking our RSS feed. The stats of our like 17 to 35 year olds is growing, and then all the others are kind of growing the same, like millennials, Gen Xers, everything. But dude, the silent generation and those older boomers, the stripling boomers are coming through for WardRadio. We got to get them a shirt, dude. Yeah,
it's because we throw them so much love. We just love boomers.
Yeah, dude. All right, keep going.
Okay, next up we got Anvil DIY saying, a good place to learn these arguments is from Travis Anderson on Missionary Discussions, a YouTube channel. A good place to learn these arguments from, oh, it's repeated. Okay. So saying, learn these arguments from Travis Anderson on missionary discussions. Go ahead, Jacob.
I was just going to plug everyone who really if you want to see the thorough sort of debunking of every point made by Trent in this debate, and I mean really thoroughly just kind of laid to rest, Robert Boylan, Stephen Smoot, and Blake Ostler, which is, you want to talk about a power team, you put those three together. They did a kind of a full response and analysis of what Trent was saying. And when you go through it, you're just like, oh my goodness, there was nothing there.
And I put the link to that video in the description of this video. So like, I highly recommend to go and watch it. I know a lot of stuff, and I still learned more things from their stream responding to Trent's claims.
Me too. Those three.
It was kind of like, Jacob and I should have prepared for that one.
I don't know a lot of stuff, and I still learned a ton.
I think an even better, I don't want to disagree, an even better resource is our own Ward Radio video. Can Kwaku link all the conspiracy theories together episode? Very in-depth, very academic look at all these points. Go find, can all the conspiracies be linked together? Ward Radio. Kwaku does an excellent job. Or sorry, Dr. L does an excellent job. Please go check
his
that out.
argument for how Hollow Earth and Flat Earth work together is just
beautiful,
brilliant.
I've never seen such brilliance on display.
And Robert Boylan says he really got his inspiration from that.
Oh my gosh. No, Robert Boylan's response to the debate was fantastic.
Yes, he did a great job, actually.
Linked in the description.
If you're worried about boring academics, it was spicy, so don't you fear.
Next up, we got Danny Gray saying, I can't stay tonight. Just want to say that I love Ward Radio and the whole crew. In the war that seems to be building between the faithful LDS and Mormons, Ward Radio definitely makes being faithful a lot more fun. God bless Bishop Ellis. Danny Gray.
I'll take the pseudonym. I'll take the pseudo title. You know.
Okay, next up we got Kolob Society says Trent should have been forced to explain his criteria for a divinely inspired text earlier on. He eventually said it was because his church says so.
Oh, I got to make a quick comment on that.
Bad.
Yeah,
Hayden brought that up, and Hayden was very much like, and I think there's a large amount of truth to what Hayden's saying. It's sort of like, he said that the reason he thinks that the Bible is inspired is essentially because the Catholic Church says so. And so that's, if a book is inspired because the Catholic Church says so, that's your argument. That's not a good argument, because I can say the Book of Mormon is inspired because my church says so. It's like, that isn't a very good argument, and Hayden is right to point that out.
Yeah, I was honestly surprised when he went that route. I was like, dude, what are you saying? Like, that's...
Another one that was bizarre was he essentially said people shouldn't take the Book of Mormon seriously because people haven't taken the Book of Mormon seriously.
I think he was trying to respond to I think he was trying to respond to the thing that Jacob said, where he was quoting a scholar who said it was a very impactful literary work or something. And he just took that completely the wrong way. Yeah, exactly.
There was multiple times.
Daniel Walker Howe, who said it should rank among the greatest works of American literature.
Yeah, and so Trent was dissecting that, like, is it one of the greatest works of American literature? I'm like, dude, come on. You're not even engaging with the substance of what Jacob just said, right? It was frustrating to watch.
And by the way, people, if we get to 300 likes, we will get past all this boring we love Catholic stuff and get to the memes, people. We've got a ton of memes, and they're fire memes, but we got to have some likes before we get to them, and then we can skip all this ecumenical stuff. So like the stream.
Oh, I'm excited about this next one. Josiah Flynn says Horn tried to actually Jacob into conceding on Mulek, and it failed. Boy, howdy did it fail. I cannot believe that he was that underprepared on that argument. I think he just hadn't really heard about it, maybe?
I don't think he'd ever heard of it.
Well, here's the deal.
The really funny one was when he was like, yeah, it's like Makiyahu or something like that, which is, and I was like, you do realize that's just the long form of
Yeah, that's literally, like saying, oh, Jesus Christ walked on water. Well, yeah, but it was salty water.
No,
that's like saying,
literally,
Hillary Clinton
Jonah,
only murdered a couple dozen people. You know?
Jonah, it's worse. It's literally like saying, hey, yeah, no, Joseph basically, he predicted that his son would be named Mike. And then Trent's like, no, it was Michael.
Yes, you're right. You're totally right.
That's literally
No,
what he did, because
And-
that's what it is. That's the difference, is adding the Yahoo at the end, right? Adding God's name.
And when you watch Robert Boylan's response to it, they kind of go into a little bit like, this is how they make names longer and shorter. Like that literally is. It's not just, oh, well, the first 5 letters are the same. It's like, no, Mulek is legit the nickname or the shortened version of that longer name, very commonly used throughout the Hebrew culture at the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was just a bad, and that's like the starting to argue with like an atheist thing. And to bring it back to the Trent saying we shouldn't take the Book of Mormon seriously, he hit on that a number of times. Even at the end, he was like, yeah, just like read it, man. Like it's so stupid. It's like, have you seen Ricky Gervais go through the first 5 verses of Genesis? Have you seen that stand-up bit? And
No.
he's just making fun of it. Yeah, he's like, oh, Ricky Gervais, atheist. He just like opens the Bible and it's one of his Netflix specials and it's like reading through it. And it's like, oh, and God made the sun. Wait a second. I thought he already made light 2 verses earlier. What's going on here? Maybe this is just a stupid book. Like, come on, Trent. Like,
and this ties into the next super chat.
Genesis 1 sounds way more ridiculous than First Nephi 1. That was
Absolutely
totally arguing like an atheist. That is such an arguing like an atheist argument that he did right there.
So what we got here is Puerto Raquel says, the issue is that they are arguing from ignorance or intentionally lying. And I think it was way more often just arguing from ignorance, probably because he thinks that the arguments that he was presenting hold water and just hasn't yet been shown how aggressively bad basically all of them are. Again, go to Boylan's response and you'll see you can find answers to every single one of the things that he brought up. Next up, we've got Read It, Book of Mormon, Read It Bomb, Trent. But is it possible, Jacob?
Yes, he did. Well, is it possible that maybe a meteorite filled with plates could have crashed in New York and that's where it got it from? Jacob's like, well, yeah, I guess. Like, geez, man, what are we talking about?
If you haven't listened to the debate, Trent didn't say that. But
for someone who debates as much as Trent does, like, here, let me just give everyone a little bit of advice here. When you're debating with people online, okay, there's a difference between possibility and plausibility. When anyone begins to say, but is it possible? You just start to laugh at them and you just give them this line. You say, yeah, it's possible there are unicorns on the backside of Pluto. You know what I mean? Like, an argument from possibility is not an argument. You have to argue from plausibility and provide reasons that a particular hypothesis is plausible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the thing that kept coming back for me, by the way, on this very point was, look, we look at the Pine Creek guy and he sees everything that we're saying and is like, absolutely, they're correct. And that's why I don't believe any of it, right? And I think in part it's because he's kind of presupposing, or he's had experiences that lead him to believe that there is no God. And therefore, the most logical option is something that is not supernatural, right?
Yeah.
Where for me, because of the experience that I've had that leads me to believe in the supernatural, yeah, the supernatural option makes a whole lot of sense, right? It becomes much easier to believe.
Well, and I'm gonna put this out there as some people may be wondering. I was gonna save this more for the end of the show, but I'll just do it right now. Where am I going from here with this? I am officially taking on the next thing is to tell those, because all the atheists right now are kind of cheering, right? They're like, "Oh, that was great! The crazy Mormons, like, if they can show Christianity is false, well, they're obviously false."
Mm-hmm.
So I now want to challenge an agnostic or atheist. I really want to see if I can get John DeLynn or Bill Reel or RFM or someone like that at that caliber. I want them to following proposition. I want to see if they will do a debate with, is there a plausible naturalistic explanation for the Book of Mormon? Okay. Because Pine Creek isn't top on my list. I'd rather get one of these other guys. But somebody like Pine Creek, it's like, ha, 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 this is so funny. This is so dumb. Okay, we got the book. It's here. So give me the naturalistic explanation that can account for the data that I've presented. For all of this stuff that is just insanely weird. You can say a lot of things about the Book of Mormon. I can tell you one thing that is absolutely true, even if I was an atheist, it's a weird book. It's It has things that just shock you, like a 17-item chiasm in Alma 36. That's weird, okay? And you have to somehow account for all of that stuff naturalistically. And that's my next challenge, is to see if someone will take up that one, and I'd happily do a formal debate now with the other side who's laughing right now, and see if they can stand up and give a good, plausible, naturalistic explanation for where this book came from that accounts for all the data, not just the cherry-picked data that they want to talk about.
Gauntlet thrown, atheists. Bring it on. Gauntlet thrown.
The compilation channel had a super chat saying, yeah, Cardin's right. As soon as the rest of the Christian community starts talking about the Book of Mormon, they start arguing like an atheist.
Yep.
So let's take it to the root and have Jacob Hansen debate an actual atheist next time.
Okay,
Are we ready for these memes, people? What's
let's
going on?
really
I think
quick.
we got a lot of super chats.
No, let's 10 super chats like a machine gun without going down rabbit holes. Then we'll hit the memes.
Okay. So lighten the truth. Just joined live. You're right, Cardin. I should have named the book something edgy like WardRadio.
Yeah.
So edgy.
Okay. So
Got you.
in my defense, Midnight Mormons was plenty edgy before Russell M. Nelson took a prophetic, I almost said took a prophetic dump.
Pardon.
But I should say before he rained on
yourself.
So happy I stopped myself and didn't let everybody know what I was about to say. But before they rained on our parade, I think that was a good name. All right, Light and Truth Letter. By the way, I can block you, right? So what are these 3 buttons next to your super chat? No, I'm totally just kidding.
Next up.
Light and Truth Letter. That was a really funny chat. You get a T-shirt. You have to reach out within 24 hours, but I will send you a Ward Radio shirt if pro bono, free Ward Radio shirt. If you can reach out via the website and give me your email address, and the address will send it to you or your phone number so that our shipping system can actually send you the tracking number and all that other stuff. But you get a free shirt. That was funny. Anyway, next one. Keep going, Brad.
Next up, the Stoic Saint. The Stoic Saint. Incredible job, Jacob. Much love, brother. Next up, Jacob Spencer. Thank you for your bravery and pure heart, Jacob. You really did a good job, dude. Jay.
I don't know how pure that heart is, guys. Don't go too far.
Yeah.
Hey,
look, guys,
at
you don't
least
know
you're
Jacob.
working on it. That's what matters.
I'm working on it.
Next up, we got Jay. Jay had a couple in a row. So thank you twice. And then he says, firsthand experience, the Holy Ghost supports Joseph Smith. And then he says the Holy Ghost brought to tears 100 times contemplating Joseph Smith. So good words, Jay. Next up, Joe Riv. Just thank you. Mary Lou Howarth. Good job, all of you. I learned so much. And then the compilation channel here says, much love from Australia, and just wanted to let Jacob know his videos helped me to come back to church, and me and my wife, Grace, have named our son Jacob after you. Thank you.
Ooh.
What?
Dude.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Well, shoot me a message or something. We'll have to have like a direct chat with that kind of stuff. Holy
Wow.
shit.
I think that deserves a
They're
W
naming
chat for the
babies.
compilation.
Hey! Cardin is a unisex name. What? I got looked over for debate prep, looked over for baby naming. What is this, man?
Yeah,
What am I? Chopped liver? What?
Apocryphus Hansen is a beautiful name.
Whoa. Okay. We got a couple more, but do we want to start sprinkling these in with the memes?
No, just catch us up really fast. Just get us all caught up, then we'll do the memes, and then we'll do all the ones before we end. Yeah, just hit it. Burn
sounds
through
good.
it.
Colin Russin says, missed opportunity during the debate. How do you explain the millions of virtually identical spiritual experiences of the Holy Spirit confirming the truthfulness of the Book of Mormon? One or two, maybe, but millions? Interesting question.
The problem with that is he could say, well, what about all the Catholics who've had the same, or the evangelicals,
or all the
born-again
Muslims
experience?
that have had the same experience, right?
And Jacob did an excellent job at the very end of the debate saying, now, hold on, guys. You think I'm going to burn in Catholic hell forever and be tormented by God. I don't think that about you. We love Catholicism. Trent tried to make this these guys really hate Catholicism thing, which was childish and dumb, because we don't.
Or maybe he
Catholicism.
feels that way. Maybe he does feel that way.
Well, he feels wrong, Brad. He feels wrong.
There we go.
Look, get all your niceness
feel
out.
wrong.
We're about to get to the memes.
I'm Canadian. It's never ending. Next up, we got Jacob Spencer saying, Catholic philosophy brought me into a basic faith in God, but it was the Book of Mormon that brought me to saving faith in Christ. I'll always be grateful to Joseph.
Oh, beautiful.
That is
Beautiful.
gorgeous, dude. I love that testimony.
The thesis. That's the thesis.
Mhm.
These other
Yeah.
Christian groups, they help bring people so far.
And that's the thing that's kind of the point of this. It's it felt like at times he was feeling like you were trying to argue to tear down the things he's saying, but everything you were saying was like, yeah, no, I agree with everything you're saying, and we have more that shows us the continued revelation of God, which the Catholic Church has stated they do not have, right? Like it was cool to see. So next, Gerbrecht. I liked Jacob's performance-esque performance. Let's just go with performance overall. But I was disappointed in how often he would interrupt Trent during the back and forth segment. Still a good watch, though. Thanks for doing it.
Quick point on that, because other people have made that same critique. So one thing to remember, in this debate, you are actually allowed to cut someone off in the cross-examination period. They give you that instruction that you get to do anything. You can cut them off.
But does that win you the optics?
It does. It is bad for optics. You're right. But it's also bad time management if you allow the other person to filibuster. One of the strategies, and I noticed when Trent started talking in those responses, I was watching him and I could tell if he'd finish an answer, he'd continue. He wouldn't just answer the question, he'd answer and then he'd keep trying to give more context. And I was like, he's going to try and eat up as much time as possible. And my questions were they were meant to have, it's like, how many witnesses of the Book of Mormon? Like, you give a number. You don't give a 30-minute speech about who all these witnesses were. Yeah. But that's what he was doing.
Kind of the giveaway was when you asked him if Satan is happy when people read the Book of Mormon, and he started to launch into this whole speech about all sorts of different things. And that was kind of right at the beginning. So it seems like after that, you were a lot more nope, and trying to, and sure, there was a time or two when it was like, okay, it sounded like he was actually trying to answer the question and you cut him off, but there's a lot of questions to get to, and you had your Book of Mormon witnesses, which was the strong stuff at the end. Maybe that should have been at the beginning. I don't know, looking back on it, hindsight 2020, but that's what was going on there.
Yeah, and it's tricky. I will tell anyone, I'm aware that I cut him off. I might have done it more than I should have, but it's hard to do. Speaking
of memes, dude, I'm actually looking at this guy, this Light and Truth letter, his website. Is this I'm not his website, his x.com profile. It's loaded with really funny memes, actually.
Awesome.
And is this some kind of faithful response to the CES letter?
Yes. I imagine based on the name.
It's literally the exact, it's flipping the CES letter on its head, and it's like the CES letter for Exmos.
Yeah, so I've read the whole thing, and instead of responding to the CES letter, everybody, there's lots of defenses, rebuttals to the CES letter, which are like, well, they say this. Well, here's the answer. It's not that. What it is using the same sneaky tactic of the CES letter against anti-Mormonism. Just asking questions. Wait, so you're telling me Joseph Smith had maps of Madagascar in 1829 in Palmyra, New York? It's just asking, showing how ridiculous the CES letter is actually pretty original and pretty cool. I haven't really ever read anything like it. It's pretty good.
It's playing offense. It's awesome.
Dude, we got to get this cat on. I mean, this is prolific, dude. This is cool.
Let's do it, dude. I'm in.
Although we won't have time if we never get to the memes.
Okay, let's go. Finish up the
three more
super
super chats. Do we want them saved for the end?
No, just finish them up.
Josiah Flynn, he summarizes the argument. So, Horn, me Catholic, me right. Jacob, nope. That's the debate, I guess. Okay. Roy Anderson says, when he said Martin Harris was trying to cover his debts, so he lied. And Jacob, you pointed out Martin Harris sold his farm after.
Yes.
It's fascinating. That entire tangent about Anthon, it's like, dude, look, he was skeptical. He went to Anthon, and then because of the way that Anthon answered, he mortgages his farm. He does all of these things. His behavior after proves that Anthon must have said something in the affirmative.
Great answer, Jacob. I thought you nailed that one.
You did such a good job with that one. Zach Brown says Jeff Durbin encouraged me to come back to church.
Oh, how kind of him.
Hey, that's cool.
Wow.
And
Did he give you fries with that too?
Because he wanted you to go to hell.
No, oh my gosh. Next up, welcome to Court McMullen and a yak named Max. Please put a Ward Radio welcome with a W in the chat for both of those.
We need more yaks in this ward.
Mm-hmm. And that catches us up.
Okay, cool. Memes. Where do I get these memes, my friend?
All right, if we're done kissy face with Trent Horn here, people. All right, look. I'm not gonna ever get on Pints with Aquinas. Okay, so I got nothing to lose with these memes. All right, you can disavow yourselves from the hilarious memes that we're about to show if you want to do that, y'all cowards. All right, so in the general thread of the Ward Radio host Discord,
Okay.
You're gonna go down there, you're gonna see the Hansen Horn debate reaction section card, and it shows the horn of Gondor snapped in two. I think that's the best kind of metaphor for what happened here the other night. It's the horn of Gondor snapped in two right there.
Okay, here we are right here. Got it.
We begin with a clip from Matt Fradd himself, patron saint of online Catholicism, where he himself, from his lips, officially proclaims Jacob Hansen the winner of the debate. Go ahead and play that clip right there. Matt Fradd dubs Jacob the winner.
If an opponent's position seems outright stupid to you, it's a good chance that you haven't investigated it. If an opponent's position seems outright stupid to you, it's a good chance that you haven't investigated.
Oh,
there you go.
that's
Thank
brutal.
you, Matt. Thank you. It does certainly seem like
If an
he
opponent's
hasn't
position
investigated
seems
it.
Oh, whoops. It auto-played again, and I didn't have it on the screen before. We'll just play it one last time
Oh, great. Here we go.
really fast.
If an opponent's position seems outright stupid to you, it's a good chance that you haven't investigated it.
Ooh,
Isn't
that's
it?
brutal.
Isn't there a good chance you have not done your homework? And honestly, when I watched this, the most disappointing thing is I just thought, oh, come on, man. I got this around the junior high school lunch table. This is the best you got? I thought I was insulted that Trent didn't bother doing more research. But
Well,
anyways,
he may not think that we're worth it yet, right? But
Okay.
hopefully Jacob's interaction with him has shown him otherwise.
Well,
hey,
and
he learned
my
his lesson.
last thought on that too, guys, is I'm the least debate person here. I never took an official debate class, and I've never participated in an official debate. The debates we did were more like moderated conversations with Sean McCraney and so on and so forth against RFM and these other places. Jacob's the one that's in love with the most boring formats in the world. But oh shoot, man, now I forgot what I was gonna say. Ah, crap. You guys go back. Shoot.
It's because you're interrupting the memes, and you get a stupor of thought when you interrupt the memes, the spirit of the meme.
Dude,
So the
chemo
next
brain is
shows-
so real. It's so real. Like, I can't wait. Actually, I would never wish this upon anybody. Let's keep going. I'm going to remember as soon as this starts, and it's going to be embarrassing. So let's just keep going.
So the next is a picture of, look, if you were deaf and you tried listening to that debate and you only saw people's faces, this is what you would see. You'd see Trent Horn, how it started. This is actually a picture of him when it began in 55 seconds that I snipped. He says, welcome to my arena, son. And then how was it going an hour later? I've made a huge mistake. I love this face. Look at his face.
Yeah.
Look at his face. He's like, oh boy, what have I done? I came underprepared, brought a knife to a gunfight. Okay, the next picture that I have in here is just a compilation of all the comments from the live chat during the debate. These are the Catholic comments are highlighted in red, and other people I don't know who are just blank. Brad was in the chat. Snaggart was doing his part. But these people kind of were savaging Trent in the comments. Even
Really?
Catholics were saying, look, I'm on Trent's side, but I don't agree with some of his arguments. This is weak sauce. They're saying, I came at this thinking that Mormonism was stupid, but boy, I gotta say, Trent really flopped on this, stuff like that.
I
So-
remember what I was going to say, and it has to do with what you're just saying right now, Jonah. That I'm the least trained in all the terminologies of debates and the logical fallacies, but he consistently just had the appeal to authority. Like, isn't that him just always saying, well, the Book of Mormon is false because, well, the Catholic Church says it's false, and we've kind of always known it's false, and, the academics say it's false, or the church says it's false, or else the public at large says it's false. Okay, well, we'll prove it. Quit fallaciously appealing to authority. That's what it's called, right, Jacob? Is it a fallacious appeal to authority?
as an argument, an appeal to authority fallacy. It's like, because an authority says it, therefore it's true.
So
I'm also not a debater, Carden. I thought debate was taking a worm off a hook. I'm not a debater either. Okay,
that's funny.
So,
Okay.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I got a little ahead, and I looked at some of these memes ahead of time, and I about wet my pants. So sorry.
Yeah. So the next meme that we have, just so that everybody knows, these are just jokes. All right, these are just jokes. Catholics, we love you. Trent, we love you too, brother. These are just jokes. We're just laughing. All right. The next meme is playing Uno here. Trent is playing Uno, and he has a choice to trust the witnesses or draw 25 cards. He decides to draw 25 cards.
Is this him looking weird? Is that just the screenshot of him looking weird?
Yeah, I just caught that screenshot accidentally, and it was a good summation, I think, of the impression you get after listening to his logic. So there's a bunch of memes here, Carden. I don't know which ones you want to pull up, but there's
let's burn through them like they're super chats.
No. We got the one I broke up with was the never ask a woman her age. That one was. Oh, yes. That was. You got to get to that one.
So the first we got atheists and Catholics agreeing on pathologic anti-Mormonism. They come together. And that was the crux of Jacob's argument. Also, we have flimsy, circular, hypocritical logic burning in the background as Jacob Hansen looks on smilingly. Vicious work by Jacob Hansen. The next meme, let's see. I want to make sure that I'm timing this right here with you, Carden.
Okay.
Yeah. The next meme is a woman lying in bed saying, "I bet he's considering joining Mormonism now." And the man lying in his bed says, "Is that why I can't remember any phone numbers anymore?"
That's a good one, Jonah. That's a good one.
Then you've got Trent Horn riding on his bicycle. He says, "Oh, you can't trust dubious witnesses," and then sticks the entire New Testament into his bicycle tire and falls on his face. Yeah, oops. Yeah, don't want to rip those witnesses out. Also, we have Matt Frad saying, "If someone's position seems outright stupid to you, you probably haven't investigated it." Trent Horn is getting hot under the collar with that guy. Then you have Catholic apologists shooting reliance upon faith right in the chest and then turning to the camera and saying, "How could Jacob do this?" There were so many live chats who were like, "Why is Jacob arguing like an atheist?" And you're like, people, okay, all right, wake up your third brain cell. All right. The point is, Jacob is trying to say that Trent is arguing like an atheist and exposing the hypocrisy. All right. Now, Donald Trump watched the debate, and he is also behind this challenge that Jacob is putting out to all the atheists out there, saying the Book of Mormon still has no naturalistic explanation. And he signed his name under that. I thought that was very nice of him to do, tweeting his support for Jacob Hansen. Then
that's funny.
Trent Horn, posing with his Dos Equis, says, "I've never debated the Book of Mormon before, but when I did, I brought up tapirs, plural wives, aliens, and blue-eyed contacts." What the heck were you talking about, Trent? Stick to the topic, dude.
Well, when he kind of mocked, and this is where I'll interject, when he kind of mocked the whole Kolob thing and blue-eyed, blonde-haired, space station Kolob sci-fi stuff, I kind of wanted to say, Trent, you're doing what atheists do when they talk about flying spaghetti monsters.
I think it was in good faith.
And Sky Daddy.
It was a joke.
That part was from a chat,
okay,
right?
fine. No, it was from chat. There was a couple of quips that he had where I was like, okay. Now, look, I'm totally down with jokes if it was a joke, but I'm just saying, okay, fine. If you say it was a joke, fine.
Jacob took it in good faith, but Trent lost me when he's like, "Oh, well, maybe Jacob will get like a universe and I'll just get a planet. I'll have to settle for that." I'm like, all right, jerkwad, you're done. You're done. Like, that was low.
Just so everybody knows, Trent was very gracious in the debate, and he took a little shot.
Yeah, I didn't get too much bad vibes on that one. So
I don't have to be his friend. Y'all got to be his friend. I don't got to be his friend. I'm just some dad who makes jokes. No one cares.
Are you bad cop? Is this good cops and one bad cop? Are you bad cop, Jonah?
No, I'm just
Joseph Smith died in a shootout after trying to live long enough to win the election. That one's way down there. That one's way down there. Not even on the table.
All right, so the next meme is grandma being walked by her daughter saying, "I used to know lots of phone numbers." "Sure, grandma, let's get you to bed."
That's funny.
If that's
All
going
right.
over people's heads,
This next one
essentially
is the one
Joseph
that
said, essentially Trent said, it would make sense that Joseph Smith could memorize like the text of the Book of Mormon after making it up, because once people get phones, they can't remember phone numbers as well. Also,
Yeah, it's like-
Scandinavians can recite really long poems.
Yeah, it's like,
It's like-
remember before you got your iPhone, you could just in one sitting recite 269,000
Yeah.
words, in
It's
a
like,
single
I
sitting.
know
right?
you-
Have you
can do
guys
that.
have you guys not done that?
Yeah, who hasn't done that, right? Trent
I know
makes
you've
perfect
read
sense.
First Nephi 1:1 17 times and couldn't remember and haven't remembered the first 5 verses. But don't worry, if you didn't have a phone, you'd be able to memorize the whole Book of Mormon. It's no problem.
Super easy.
It's so
Yeah.
funny, which contradicts, by the way, the argument that they have from the 116 pages. Oh, he lost the 116 pages and he couldn't reproduce it again because he couldn't remember that much stuff because he was just making it up. And so he had to make up this other story. But then when it comes to, well, how did he make this 500? I mean, Scandinavian shaman memorize poems that long.
That's a great point, Luke.
Anyone,
That's a great point.
You can't make the 116 pages argument and he had a manuscript argument. Those two are incompatible. Because if he had a manuscript, then he would have been able to reproduce it, right?
Wow. This is great. Man, you guys are pretty smart. You should try writing jokes. It's really, really smart. All right, so
This was the one that made me die.
let's move on to the next one. This is an
hard
excellent
about this
meme here. This even got Jacob, cold-hearted Jacob Hansen to laugh. This is, you never ask a woman her age. You never ask a man his salary. And you never ask Trent Horn how many witnesses there were of the resurrection. Don't do it. Don't do it. Okay. That was the craziest exchange. Jacob's like, hey, how many witnesses of the resurrection are there? And he's like,
Well, to be fair, he did say
couldn't do it.
firsthand, and so like trying to that can be hard to figure
that
out.
was
exactly
great.
what
It's
to
like,
say.
you're a cat. He says, the reason I believe is because the witnesses. How many witnesses were there? Well, I don't know. Like, blew my mind. All right, the next meme shows Jacob Hansen beating the living tar out of Trent Horn. Meanwhile, atheists are in the background like, oh, this is good stuff. I'm filming it for everybody. Excellent meme there. Then there is Trent Horn, like Jake Halpert, explaining, if Catholicism is true, then Mormonism is false. I literally make my living doing this. Yes, you do, inexplicably, Trent Horn. Heaven only knows.
All right. Okay. Next one.
All right, the next one is me with my pro LDS memes posing next to Jacob Hansen's wit and logic as the werewolf. I love this. I'm just glad I get to be here, guys. I'm just glad I get to be a part of this. All right, like sitting next to Jacob Hansen, I like it. The next one is the assassination chain. Evangs being shot in the back by atheists being shot in the back by Catholics, but all of them being shot in the back by Latter-day Saints. Let's see. And this one I made, I will admit, this is what I made. This is Jacob Hansen as Aragorn, okay, looking at the fellowship of the WardRadio radiologist and saying, for Joseph, and charging into Mordor. That's how I felt after watching this debate. It was beautiful. I was inspired. It was great. We have some more fun.
Wait, you got to do a better job of that, though. It wasn't for Joseph. It was like, for Joseph!
No,
So good.
He said it softly.
So good.
No,
Good. It was
the
very
new
inspiring.
version, our version, will be
I like
better.
Okay.
And then
I like
this
it.
wasn't storming into Mordor. What was the one where he says it and he screams it? It's the one before. The Fellowship of the Ring, right? I don't know my Lord of the Rings well enough. I should stop talking right now. But
Oh, yeah.
King
Oh, shoot.
Theoden at the charge of the
Theoden
Blood
when
of
he
the
yells,
Arcadian.
Death!
No, it's when he screams, it's a red day. Yeah.
Yeah.
cool.
When,
Rock on.
when Theoden says, well, if you would take this day to that day to have one chance, just one chance. That's Theoden, right?
No, that's William Wallace.
No,
dude.
oh my
That's
gosh, I'm sorry.
Braveheart.
That's Obi-Wan Kenobi. I mixed it up.
I was
That's
like-
Obi-Wan Kenobi who
I was
said
like,
that.
man, is this in the extended editions? And I haven't seen them in way too long. What is going on?
All right, so the next meme we have is my favorite Trent Horn face, which will forever live on the internet as Trent Horn's face. Two of them, one saying, every Christian when talking with an atheist, it's all about faith. But every Christian when talking with a Mormon, it's all about the evidence. Yeah, okay. Yeah. And if you can't see that double standard, you need your glasses checked. This was my favorite from the Discord. It's Trent looking down and rubbing his chin. I loved this one. Trent's going, wait, am I an atheist? So good. delicious meme of Trent now reconsidering everything. And the last meme, I made this one. I think this kind of sums up some of the logic of the debate. This is my attempt to understand what these big brains are talking about. When Jesus Christ healed the man of palsy, he says, for whether is easier, to say, thy sins be forgiven thee, or to say, arise and walk. To which Trent Horn says, whoa, hey, I don't have the burden of proof. You do. Right? So the whole point is Jacob is saying, you can't explain where the Book of Mormon comes from. Nobody can. And Trent's like, well, I don't have to, whatever. It's like, we just healed this dude from palsy, stood up and walked away. Don't you think that's divine? Well, I mean, I don't have the burden of proof. I mean, that doesn't mean anything. No one can explain where the Book of Mormon comes from. I look forward to any atheist who has the cojones to go up against Jacob Hansen and tell us where the Book of Mormon comes from. I'd be fascinated to hear your explanation.
All right. Okay.
So are we done with the dunking on Trent Horn portion?
Not necessarily dunking on Trent Horn, but I do have something in the Discord there, Carden. It's the one that I posted that starts with yes.
It's a great one. Yes.
From someone, because this was a response that somebody on Twitter or X, they're like, people are like, oh, debates are so stupid. Like, everybody, the person says this, your fans will go away from the debate thinking you won, and their fans will go away from the debate thinking you won. I get it. That's the point. So they think that debate doesn't do anything. And then I just posted one of the comments from the chat. You want to read that, Carden?
Yes, I'm so glad this happened. I am a Catholic former LDS who struggles daily with temptation to go back to the LDS church. This discussion is such a blessing. Also, the best two people to be having this discussion. After watching this, unfortunately, I think Jacob was the clear winner. Brutal.
So chew on that for a minute. He says, oh, I'm so glad I left the Catholic faith. It is so great. Edit. Okay, after watching this, unfortunately, I think Jacob was the clear winner. What a comment! What a beautiful comment!
And this wasn't a troll, because I saw the comment before they put the edit in. So I know at least that they put that up there first, and then later when it put it.
This is what the whole Catholic audience was thinking. They're like, "Oh, this will be great," and then they're like, "Oh, snap!"
Hey guys.
And there also are atheists out there who are putting out some pretty funny things. So I had to share one from a mutual friend of Trent and I, actually, is Emerson Green. He put one up. It's pretty funny.
Yes, it's a great one.
I want to put it on the screen, Carden. It's just, he said, Christians, the second Mormonism comes up. And it's the classic atheist dude in the fedora.
Yep, true.
Oh, dude.
Okay, guys, speaking of funny atheists, guess who's in the chat right now?
Richard Dawkins.
They're not very funny. That's the only problem. That's kind of like a mutually excused.
Atheists.
The Pine Creek guy. He made some funny jokes on his live.
I didn't see it. Okay.
Was he in there?
Yeah, he's in the chat. He just made a couple comments. He actually threw down a basic framework for what he would say is a naturalistic explanation of the Book of Mormon.
Is he giving it to us in a super chat? No, then forget him. Move on. No, I'm totally just kidding. Savage. I'm just kidding.
But he's also said, he mentioned that he feels like Jacob probably won. Sure. Didn't score it. But then he says the reason why was because Jacob correctly pointed out that the evidence for Mormonism exceeds Christianity with the eyewitnesses. So if you believe Christianity, you ought to believe Mormonism, which I think is a great way of boiling down that argument. So he's also said that he's down to talk. Where did that one go? Oh man, if it was a super chat, I would have an easier time finding it.
I do have him on my list of potentially doing this, but I really do want to see if I can find an atheist who's also an ex-Mormon that's prominent. Here are the ones that I want to call out specifically.
Do you have to wear a lead suit so like the toxicity
doing this, okay?
Like the toxicity doesn't go through?
If you make a living saying the Book of Mormon is obviously a fraud, okay? At Pine Creek, you don't make a living doing that, okay? These guys, RFM, Bill Reel, and John DeLynn, any one of you three, you're the first three I'm calling out. And I want to say, if you make a living saying it's so obviously a fraud, well, then you should be able to just very clearly explain how obvious it is that this has a naturalistic explanation.
Okay, cool. Brad,
he says he's an ex-Mennonite, and it starts with an M, so that's close enough, right?
We know that RFM...
That's awesome.
He's a cool guy.
We know that Bill Reel We know that Bill Reel won't debate anybody because Cardin bought him a microphone and had a live audience waiting and tried to hand it to Bill Reel, and Bill Reel said no.
I'll tell you why they won't. I'll tell you why they won't. They never want to have a burden of proof on them. Notice something about them. They will never defend a thesis ever. Okay? My point is this. I just went up with Trent Horn to defend a thesis, okay, against a professional, high-level apologist online, okay? And you guys won't ever do something like that. That's the difference. We actually put forth a positive worldview. It's really easy to tear at people's faith. It's much harder to actually propose a worldview and then defend it from critique. But you guys don't do that. And that's why it really bothers me. But I want to give you guys a chance. I want to give you a chance to redeem yourselves and actually come out and say, I'm going to propose a positive argument and I'm going to defend that argument from critique. But they won't do it. But I'm going to leave this out there, and I want all of us, all of you listening, to continually ask them every time you see Bill Reel, RFM, whatever, see their chats, whatever. I want you to ask them, when are you going to debate Jacob Hansen on the naturalistic explanation for the Book of Mormon? Flood their feeds with it. Flood their chats with it. Let them know every day that they're running away.
Okay, I think that's good. Let them know they're running away. Yeah.
Now,
Brad, catch us up, buddy.
I got you. Okay, so we've got Kyle Wright says, please do an episode on the Ancient Tradition podcast. If possible, please interview the podcaster.
Dude.
Is that the one with Jack?
No, isn't
Logan?
Ancient Tradition, isn't she an American Indian, if I remember correctly? And she like converted and am I thinking of the same one?
Thinking of the wrong one.
Okay.
Now, the next one here is Anvil DIY. He says, when is WardRadio going to be a media conglomerate like Daily Wire or Blaze TV? Protestants on meat-only diet, no fruit?
Oh, well, check this out. First off, I mean, we offer podcast and video form and Ward Radio News curated by our one and only Luke Hansen. Make sure you go to the wardradio.com website to sign up for our newsletter so you get each one of the blog posts or the news articles directly in your inbox. We also have merch. You can, purchase the merch there. And we're working on our first 2 films. Now that Donald Trump, here's 2 kind of updates that have been a long time coming. Now that Donald Trump actually has accepted the endorsement or the pseudo endorsement of RFK and promised to put him in front of a commission on assassination attempts and or assassinations of the president, hopefully soon we might be launching a Kickstarter for the JFK tapes reels that we got of the Zapruder film from Reed Moon. And we actually have a really killer sizzle reel that has been prepped by director Preston Weaver. We've been sitting on it for 6 months, actually, and haven't had all of our ducks in a row yet, but we might have to push a bunch of those ducks out into the pond pretty quick here because RFK is going to be free here in a little bit. And if he isn't free and Donald Trump wins, he's going to be on a commission that might be interested in seeing what we found and what the restorationists have been able to find on the evidential copies from Jim Garrison of the Much More Than Nicks, the Hughes, and the Zapruder film that were in his personal possession and never before seen by the public yet, at least their copies. So that's coming. Also, there's a film written by, and won't give you anything other than maybe a working title right now, but there's a film written by the writer of Galaxy Quest that is going to be produced by us here at Ward Radio. Might be released directly on the YouTube channel. We might have traditional distribution. We don't know yet. But all the other stuff like our comedy, and we've got this all in the works. It boils down to basically just budgets. The more you guys can help us out, if there's any wealthy members out there that like what we're doing and could be an angel investor in some of these projects, I don't know, you got an extra $5 or $10,000 around, we could probably make some of these sketches actually happen that we've written that are pretty awesome and are in the queue. It really just is a function of money and however much money we can have thrown at us. would help it. Will help it happen. So share this with your friends. The super chats help. The Venmo helps. The merch helps. All of it helps. Yeah, Brad.
To
What?
echo a film professor of mine from BYU. He was talking about how he hears an awful lot of people complaining that there isn't enough good entertainment out there with good enough values, and then says, hey, if you're tired of it, fund the good stuff. Go out there and find the things that are going to be in line with your values and help fund those things. So, guys, if you want this daily wire train of Ward Radio to happen, it's gonna take a little bit more than we are currently working with.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, how are the War in Heaven hats coming here, Carter?
Oh, sold out. I had to take some pre-orders. We only have 4 left of our pre-orders. Yeah, I ordered 50 new ones because the first 120 sold out. And so I ordered 50 new ones, and then I got 46 orders that day. I'm down to 4.
I think we're going to start requiring proof that you actually fought in the War in Heaven.
Actually, I think we need.
Are some of you just getting these for merch, or are you actually veterans of the War in Heaven? How do we vet this?
We need a temple recommend. I require ID. I require ID. They already call us racists. No, that's funny. Like not what's it called? Not voter ID. Like War in Heaven ID. Your temple recommend, dude. Should I start giving a 15% discount on merch if you have a temple recommend?
Jeez, no, it's horrible.
oh my gosh. Okay, let me see. We've got another super chat from Kyle Wright and a yak named Max. So I'm going to read those real quick. So yak named Max says, if I wanted to become as learned like Jacob, to be able to defend the faith, where would you start?
Waku's video on do all the conspiracies tie together right here at Ward Radio, guys. Go check it out, all right? It's the best place to start.
I'm going to first of all say I'm actually not that smart or learned, okay? The guys
I second the motion.
Yeah, third.
Yeah. No,
if anything, I always tell people I'm kind of a communicator of other people's ideas. Like if you go and study the works of the scholars in this area within the church, that's where you're going to find the best stuff. Go check out, people like Dan Peterson and Robert Boylan and Stephen Smoot and Blake Ostler, and look for who they're referencing, and kind of you can go endlessly deep into these holes. But if you want to get just on this subject that we just talked about, go watch Robert Boylan's response video that he made with Stephen Smoot and Blake Ostler. When you put those 3 together, that's like, watch out, man. Those are smart dudes, and they're the ones who are I just basically read what these guys say, and then I just communicate it. So go to those guys.
I would say a really, really good starting point for this. You could go to mormoner.org and find answers to a lot of these sorts of questions, where not only will you get a short form kind of Q&A that gives you answers to the questions in a just very simple way, but then it all links to the primary sources and helps you understand the context of those sources. So one of the things that Jacob Hansen was talking about in the debate with Trent that I think would have been important for Trent Horn to do was understanding which of these are firsthand sources and which of these aren't. Like when Trent is quoting about was it Martin Harris or David Whitmer? I'm gonna flip them in my head.
Whitmer, but they have them broken down literally, because that was one of the resources I used for the debate prep. Mormoners quotes from the witnesses and what other people said, and they have it all in a spreadsheet, almost format, where you can go and look at exactly what was said, when, who said it, who did they say it about, were they a member or not. It's brilliant scholarship that these guys are doing.
Yeah, and it's not to say that secondhand sources aren't meaningful or helpful, but it helps you contextualize and understand how do these sources relate to one another.
Or you see that one of these quotes is you have all these quotes that look one way, and then there's one that looks off, and it's there's a pattern in the data, and it seems like Trent is focusing on the anomaly, not the data.
All right. So keep burning through these super chats, bro. Hit us.
Next up, we got Kyle Wright saying the Ancient Tradition podcast is by a professor, Jack London. I'm pretty sure it's Jack Logan, if it's the same one that I'm thinking of, because I'm pretty sure Jack London wrote
Call of the Wild.
Call of the Wild, yeah. He's super dead.
Well, John Smith wrote the Book of Mormon, too.
Ethan
And-
Smith.
I do have to say this. A quick point on that.
Yeah.
This is a little bit of a hint that they didn't know a lot about Mormonism. I had to correct them before. You guys didn't see this off camera when they were getting ready for the debate and they were going to read a statement about what the Book of Mormon is. They were mispronouncing Lamanites. They were calling them the Lamanites.
Lamanites.
Really?
And it was Alma instead of Alma.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you can hear Trent Horn in one of his videos says Zaramella or Zarahemla. And when you start noticing that, you go, I don't know if you guys have done a lot of research on this.
Yeah. All right. Keep going. Keep going, Brad.
Okay. Next up, we got the ancient tradition. This one, he's saying, clarifying Jack Logan is a she. So it's the one I'm thinking of. 41 episodes so far. They'll blow your mind. Best listen in order as she is a progressive style and like a college course. Yeah, we should definitely get in touch because that one's a fascinating one. I've listened to like 2 or 3 of the episodes so far, like early when they were first starting, but there weren't more. And then I just kind of lost track of it. But it's cool to hear that they've got more out. So we'll have to see if we can get in touch with Jack. Now, Unity Spirit says, just supporting good media. Thank you for the super chat there. Sean Grover says, funding good stuff. Stickers, please.
Oh, hey, by the way, I'm one step ahead of you, and that's one of the things I forgot to mention. I've dropped off the most flattering screenshots to my printer and finished. You'll notice that the Ward Radio YouTube channel and the website have all new headers now that also have included Jonah and Luke as well. But our original, like, Q4, shall you call it, is getting made into a circular sticker, and that's already in the print shop. And it's crazy how they make stickers. We're making a sticker where they actually use like a CNC machine with a razor blade to like cut out the picture. It's kind of cool. It's pretty rad. So stickers are coming. Keep going, Brad.
Okay, next up we got Gid Donut. Maybe dump those memes on the member Discord.
Yeah.
He wants access.
I'm on it. Sorry, right now I'm making a meme of when it comes to Mormonism, Trent is the Australian breakdancer meme. But when I'm done with that, I'll drop it in the Discord. You got it.
And I do have to say that Gid Donut is a cool guy. He lives over near me, and we actually had lunch together about a week ago.
Cool. All right,
Now,
keep going.
After the meme roast of Trent Horn, I just want to reiterate, Trent, I think you're a good guy. I think you maybe just were dealing with some stuff that you did not have the full understanding of, but that's okay. We can get deeper into the sources and we can get to an understanding. Go ahead, Jacob.
And and I just want to let Trent know, Jonah made these memes and he told me, hey, I got some memes I made about the debate. And I said, okay, sounds good. So just know that Jacob Hansen was not the one who was making the
Jacob
memes.
Hansen approved every single one of these memes.
All right.
Next up, we got the Tanner Wilcox saying, not sure if mentioned, but why didn't Jacob push back on the horses argument? It's even on Wikipedia that we found horses in NA. Is he
North
saying
America. I think he's saying North
Okay,
America.
cool.
Well, Jacob used the opportunity to show the double standard. He said, well, there are no candlesticks in the New Testament either. Smart guy.
Well, 2 things. That's one of them. So I know that that's a fairly new discovery because I looked into that, and it's still somewhat pending. There still are some things that are like, I wanted to go with arguments that were as solid as could be. And so I didn't want to pull that one up as like, oh yeah, we already discovered that, because it's still somewhat pending in my understanding from the scholars who I talked to. But what I rather would do is pivot it around, because it could also be a translator's anachronism, the horses thing. Okay, that's also a possibility. And so what I wanted to do was show that, for instance, he brought up the tapir thing. And he's like, well, it must have been tapirs. And so I figured like I'd nail him on showing that people think we just made that up. Like we just were like, oh, maybe it's tapirs. They don't realize that the Mayans literally called the Spanish horses lightning tapirs. Okay? So we have actual historical evidence that is what ancient American people, when they first saw horses, if indeed they did, that was the language that they used to describe them. So there are multiple ways you can approach that one. I just don't think it's a good argument. The new research that's out on the new discovery, from my understanding, is that some of those dating results are still pending or they're not sure on it. exactly, and I didn't want him to have any wiggle room on it, so I decided to move on to something different.
I don't think he was aware of it at all. Next up, we got Jay saying, "You guys are destroying the anti-Mormon community. How dare you make it a two-way conversation?" Next up, we got Compy saying, "You should get Morgan Philpott. Does epic talks about the second coming. He was the lawyer in the Ammon Bundy court case." Oh,
that'd be kind of interesting.
Morgan Philpott. I think I've heard of that name, but I don't know.
By the way, it's not just us. Did you guys see the controversy that developed about the War in Heaven hats today?
Oh, yes.
Oh,
did you guys see that? Oh, so we got some fun ones. I'll pull up a couple of I don't know, should I talk about it now, Jonah, or should we just
let's wrap up the debate thing and then get into that, because
I do have a question with Brad about the debate thing. Did you ever get to your critique of Jacob's fruit argument?
I did not. So here is the thing, Jacob. I think that the way that you presented the fruit argument was not a bad one, but it was one that could be used for any system, right? Any religious system that is bearing good fruit in somebody's life, where when we're talking about something that is divinely inspired. Oh, go ahead, Luke.
I would.
No, I want you to finish your thought, but I have a response to that.
Okay. Part of what I think is important to view here, the reason that the fruit conversation is part of the conversation is because Christ gave us the way to know a false prophet, right? It's by their fruits that ye shall know them. And I would kind of go about it this direction. What I think would have been better is to say that the Book of Mormon itself is a fruit of Joseph Smith, right? Which I think you kind of alluded to, and then went on to the fruit in the lives of the members based on the teachings. But the thing that I think is even more convincing to me is the way that the Book of Mormon, the way that it talks about Christ, the way that it teaches of Christ. And you did mention this a tiny bit. This is not the kind of thing that could be demonically inspired, right? A house divided against itself cannot stand. This is not going to be the kind of things that Satan is going to be trying to produce. Satan producing this book goes against his entire mission, right? If the Book of Mormon is true, Jesus Christ really died on the cross and he really rose again, right? And so that is the thing where I'm looking at it like, hey, by their fruits ye shall know them. What is the fruit of the Book of Mormon? It's the testimony of Christ. And so that's kind of a thing where I'm looking at that as a possible criteria of divinely inspired, but maybe I'm going about it the wrong direction. I don't know. What do you guys think of that?
I think it's good, and I think it makes a lot of sense. There'd just be that lack of exposure to the Book of Mormon that wouldn't be accessible to the people in the debate to reference from that. So you just kind of have to be like a, trust me, bro, the Book of Mormon talks a lot about Jesus. And Jacob did bring up the Catholic guy that said, I concluded that the Mormons are obsessed with Jesus, and it happened when I read the Book of Mormon. So that idea got in there. But the specific point that you brought up, and this is why I think Robert Boylan was telling Jacob not to do the fruit argument, and this is what Trent did, is you can say, well, other groups have good outcomes. For some reason, he said Islam also claims good fruit, and Jacob just shut that down totally. Like, seriously, nobody wants to live in an Islamic world. But the thing is, though, they also, we're not saying they don't have fruits. They do, because they follow truth. And the more truth you get, the more good fruits you get. And the fruits argument is pointing out, we have more. Like, compared to other religious groups, these fruits that you're seeing are greater than the other ones. How in the world does a con man come up with something that 200 years later, not only is still going, but is improving people's lives, not just generally, but relative to other religious groups? How does that make any sense whatsoever?
So I had an interaction in the comments about this very thing. Somebody said, oh, well, who cares if your fruits are this or whatever?
I actually have a response to that too.
And I don't know if you saw what was said, but I said, well, okay, fine. I'll take my extra 10 years of life, my happier marriage, my purpose in life, my better relationships, my, all the stuff. And somebody responded to my comment and said, wow, if your religion was started by a con man, is outperforming God's actual religion, then that's a pretty pathetic God. And I thought, oh, that's an interesting perspective to take.
And this is, so I'm a person, there's a misunderstanding. Because they say, well, it's done a lot of good things in my life, right? I don't think that's a good argument at all. The problem is when you actually have demonstrable data showing that, let's just say there's some book out there that all of a sudden everyone who reads it, like their life changes for the better. Like all of a sudden they're happy and they're like, they had a drug addiction and they got over it. And like they all are saying this book just blew me away. I mean, I would have to say that would have to, that's something. That's a meaningful data point to consider, is the impact that this thing has on other people. And in fact, I would say, and if you want to ask me the root of my testimony of Christianity, is that exact argument. It's because I think that when you study history, Christianity as taught by Jesus Christ in the New Testament, when those teachings are obeyed and followed, it revolutionizes not just your life. We always talk so individually in the church. It's not just about you. It's not if it works for you. It's, does this work for you, for your family, for your community, for your nation, for everyone, and does it work cross generations of time? That's when you know you've found real transcendent truth, morally speaking, or in other ways. And so for me, it is the most powerful argument. That's one of the reasons I'm a little defensive on it, because my testimony of this gospel and of Christianity, it doesn't become we got great evidences and Nahum and all that kind of stuff. It's two things. It's that I have observed this change people's lives, and then I've gone to God and I prayed and said, this seems to be you, is it? And I received confirmation that it is.
I would say, I think, I don't think that it's a bad argument, but I want to see it developed further, and I think we should actually discuss this more.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a whole another episode, Jacob. I want you to write that down. I think that's right up there with the Hansen 5 model. And we should discuss this. And Jonah, what a good point.
By their fruits you shall know them.
Well, yeah.
I'm going to throw in one more quote because it's a Catholic quote. This is from Pope Benedict himself. And he said, I've often affirmed my conviction that the true apology in this sentence meaning defense, so the true defense of the Christian faith, the most convincing demonstration of its truth are the saints and the beauty that the faith has generated.
Okay,
so
awesome.
Pope Benedict himself is setting up the fruit standard and saying it's actually the best argument.
Was he the guy who brought 50 prostitutes up into the Vatican office and had a big...
Pope Benedict is...
Oh, that was a different guy. Shoot, I'm sorry. I know. I thought I mixed it up with the other guy. No. I heard planets and alien babes and blue contact lenses, and I just thought, wait, who invited the 50 prostitutes up to the Vatican?
Especially Pope Benedict. Pope Benedict was awesome.
Yes. Okay, we've got 13 minutes left, guys. 13 minutes. So, Brad, take us home.
On that note, I want to go into this a little bit more to make sure that we refine this argument in a way that comes across in a compelling way to people who are not of our faith yet, right? Because right now, what it comes across as a little bit is kind of we are the one true church, right? And that kind of makes other people think like, oh, wait, so I don't have truth, right? In my religion. It's like, no, that's not what we're saying. And so I want to make sure that we refine the way that we address this argument so that it can be as powerful as possible. Because, Jacob, I think you do have a point. But I think
it can't be offensive.
What? Yes. And people, like, I don't think that it needs to be. And I don't think that it's intended to be. I think you have people taking that and misunderstanding what you're saying because of the way it's being presented. So we should definitely go over it more. But we got a couple more quick super chats in here. So moving forward, Rogers Benjamin says, love you, bros. Send me a War in Heaven hat. Tell Jacob he dominated.
Yeah, dude. Rock on.
Yeah. So we'll have to send him one, Carden. That's Manhattan there.
Yep.
Dr. Manhattan, yes. Ben Rogers and his Cybertruck, baby.
Yeah.
You know, guest of the show, like 2 months ago?
Yeah.
Rock on.
Cool dude. Nice dude.
Okay, you got a hat coming. Dude. You got a hat coming your way. Thank you very much, Benjamin Rogers.
And then next up, Jacob Son of Thunder says, off topic, I love the Heartland model. What do you think of Claire Haney at BYU Ed Week lumping Heartlanders in with anti-polygamous core whores? So
Burn her. Burn her.
What? No. I can see where she might be coming from with that, because she may know Heartlanders who are also polygamy deniers, right? But I don't think every Heartlander I know is a polygamy denier, so she's kind of making a weird comparison just to lump them all together like that. Whoops.
Boy, nothing would make me run from the Heartland model faster than if I found out they were all polygamy deniers. Yeesh.
Yeah, there are some of them in there.
Okay, cool. Keep going,
No,
bro. Keep going.
All the polygamy deniers are Heartlanders. I don't think there's any Meso people in the polygamy deniers, or very, very.
Is that right?
Oh, is there not a single one that's actually
I wouldn't
Meso?
say I won't claim a single one, but they're very rare.
Because I know all of the ones that I know are Heartland people, but like there are a bunch I haven't asked. So
Well, shoot, now I got to be a Meso person now?
Polygamy deniers are essentially Joseph Smith never could ever even possibly get anything even remotely close to wrong in any statement he ever made ever. That's
about right.
Polygamy deniers are, and therefore, because he said in any sort of public way, even implied that there was no polygamy involved, it was true 100%.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why they're all Heartlanders.
interesting.
All right.
Yeah. So I don't think that, like, I didn't hear the statement, so I guess I can't really comment on it. Did any of you guys hear about that? The Ed Week thing? Okay.
No,
Sorry,
keep reading the super chats while you're pulling up the next super chat. I was a little bit flustered when Ben Rogers actually gave his super chat, because I was actually trying to put this picture in the Discord because we were talking about the hats. Just reminding people that put in your orders today, because I just went to the mail center today and we filled up an entire, you guys can see it in the Discord right now, it's on the screen.
So cool.
We filled up an entire mail cubicle cart with just the WardRadio boxes. The guy was like, wait, this is for a podcast? The mailman even was surprised. So that's pretty cool.
So we need cool pictures of people wearing the War in Heaven veteran hats. Guys, we want pictures in the weirdest places or with the most unique people, okay? We want you to take these hats and go get photos of yourself standing in front of monuments or doing weird things or posing with the person in the McDonald's drive-through window. We need the pictures and we need you to upload them into the Discord.
Yeah, but not too weird of things. Not too weird of things.
No. Don't listen to Carter. We want weird, guys. We want borderline criminal things.
Okay.
With these hats on.
Also, really fast, shout out Alexis. I won't say her last name. I don't know if, she's got rabid anti-Mormon family members or not. But Alexis put her money where her mouth is, just gave us a generous contribution on Venmo. Same with yesterday, Matthew. The day before that, Edwin. The day before that, Isabel. Also, Lori, David, and Kim this month have contributed generously through Venmo, and we thank them very, very much for their contributions as well. I'm going to start trying to do shout-outs for people. I realize that those that give us super chats are disproportionately advantaged because we all see their name and they get credit for it. Whereas the people that give us Zelle contributions and give us Venmo contributions, though I will correspond with them through Venmo and send them like little private messages and thank yous and so on and so forth, they don't get the love. So I'm trying to show them the love right now. All right, Brad, burn us through these super chats. We've got 8 minutes left, my man. 8 minutes left.
We've got one more. So
Okay.
This one up, we've got extra. Do any of you know the meaning of my YouTube name? And this is from Jacob, son of thunder. Yes, indeed we do, Boanerges.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wait,
Mm-hmm.
Boanerges as in like Simon Boanerges? Like the...
As in James
As
and
in
John,
Jacob
the sons of
and
thunder.
James and John. So
Because
Jacob
James, there was no James in the New Testament, people. That name was put in by the translators of the King James Version to honor the king. Anytime you read James, it's actually Jacob. And actually, it was pronounced Jims, which is weird fact. But that's Jacob.
Oh, wait.
Oh, Jacob.
So
we should call him
James, the brother of Jesus, was changed to be James in just like in
English.
salutation to King James?
Yeah, Jesus' brother was named Jacob. Not James. James is just an English name, but it was the name of the king, and so to honor him, they took one character in the New Testament and changed it to James.
Dang it.
Yeah.
And they say that we're stupid for saying we believe the Book of Mormon to be the word of God as long as it is translated correctly. And there's literally an archaeological record of a name swap just to please the king.
Yep.
Was it really just to please the king? I thought it was. I didn't realize that was the case.
Because they were directed to make the King James translation under King James, and they were so grateful for it after all the controversy that they wanted to honor the king. At the very beginning of the first edition, they have this big long letter that they write the king saying, "Oh, wonderful majesty, bring forth this new translation of the Bible. You're just so wonderful." And they changed the name of Jesus' brother to be Jacob. So the book of James 1:5 actually was Jacob 1:5. So now you know.
Wow. Jude, okay, Jacob, awesome. All right, well, so then I guess just finishing thoughts here, dudes. We got 5.5 minutes left. What were your final thoughts? I'll go first. God bless Trent Horn. God bless Matt Fradd. I think they're wonderful people going to heaven that are just doing their best with what God gave them. And I think future conversations will be beneficial to all, especially the audience. And the biggest gift they gave us was engagement. Because at the end of the day, bad things happen when people disengage. Good things happen when people engage. And I think that's awesome. And Jacob, I'm so proud to be your friend. I think you represented us better than anybody else could. And well, no, except for me. I think I'm the best. But, you know, you're a close second, distant second.
On this screen here, you were at least the top 5.
Yeah, exactly. But you did a really, really good job, bro. And I just think you crushed it, man. That's awesome. So, Brad, you're the most ecumenical guy. You go next, bro. What are your last thoughts? And people need to buy your book.
Oh, yeah. I'll find a copy.
I got a copy. I'll
it's
promo
called
you.
Dragon Thief.
Yeah, I'll grab it from my stack. You just start talking.
So, guys, my name is Brad Whitbeck. I am a co-author with my wife. We technically are hiding behind our pen names of Blake and Raven Penn for Google SEO purposes because it's way easier to find us as actors than it is to find us normally. But if you check out skystonechronicles.com, you can find some really fun stuff. Our first chapter for our book is up there free. Riley and I we read our audiobook. And that was a lot of fun. We were able to do the voice. We were voice actors before we were ever writers. So it's good, awesome, fun fiction.
Well, what's the name?
And
I've been holding it up for this whole time too, and you still haven't said the name.
Did I not say Dragon Thief?
Yeah, there you go.
Dragon Thief, the first book in the Skystone Chronicles. So,
and it's clean. It's good, clean reading for your teenagers.
Yeah,
or for yourself. It's good.
It's a fun YA book. If you were a fan of Avatar: The Last Airbender, you will like this book. Now, to the debate question, here's the thing. I thought Jacob did an amazing job. I think he absolutely won. I think he showed that double standard. I think there's still stuff to be explored in the question of, hey, how exactly do we define what is a divinely inspired text? How do we measure that for ourselves anyway? That's a cool question. It's an interesting question that I'd like to explore further. I think that Trent Horn seems like a good man. I hope that we can find more in common and do what we can to come closer to Christ. And I do think that in the end, we're all going to see eye to eye on this, that we will be able to reconcile everything and try to understand our Father in heaven more. I feel like we're all on that same journey and that we have that same desire. And I think that's kind of at the root of Zion, right? That's what gets us to that Zion moment of coming back into the presence of God. It's to have that shared desire of being of one heart and one mind. It's having the same desire and vision, right? To want to come to know God and to want to know all of those true things. What are the truths of reality? You know, are these miracles real? Is God real? Is he really our Father? What does this mean? And so I hope that as Trent continues to interact with Mormons, with members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, that he'll be able to do so with an open heart and an open mind to understand us better, because pretty clearly from what he brought to the debate, he just does not understand our history. And so hopefully this interaction can lead him to a better understanding of where our arguments actually lie and what we actually think and believe, rather than some of the characterizations of us that he brought up in the debate.
All right, rock on. Who's next, man? Hit it. Jonah, go. You're the stud. Go.
Yeah, I was just going to say, remember the quote by Joseph Smith who says, never underestimate how righteous your neighbor is. Never underestimate how righteous your neighbor is. Trent and Matt and lots of people are doing the very best that they can with what they have. And they might be doing way better than I'm doing or you're doing. We've been given the restored gospel of Jesus Christ. We have huge expectations set on us to do better. And we should all be doing better. And it's not our place to judge anyone else, but to look inside and say, how can I do better? I think they were very gracious to put you on there. What a U-turn to go from wanting to burn our books to now wanting to copy our notes, in just a couple months. So that was a quick turnaround. But Jacob, you were fantastic. You were awesome. I loved it. You called it perfectly. And I hope that Trent and Matt think about it and they go, you know what? If we have to resort to that type of atheist cynicism to dismiss Mormonism, then maybe there's something to it. And I think you did a great job laying the case out for viewers, average Catholic viewers, and anybody else to say, hey, we just want to add to what you have. We just want to add to it. So I thought you did a great job.
And before we go to cool-headed Luke here, I do have to say, I really appreciated, Jacob, your spiritual experience in that room in the School of the Prophets and your comparison to that small room being the WardRadio studio, that the greatest minds of the 21st century are coming through this studio here. Mm-hmm. And that spiritually, you just think that the only real comparison to this, the only analog, as we say, in church history to the School of the Prophets is really the WardRadio studio with its great minds. All can be seen on the screen right here. We just need to sing the Spirit of God like a fire is burning together, and we're all but translated. So cool-headed Luke, my man, hit it, bro. You're the last one, dog.
Alrighty, so I say watch the debate if you haven't. Watch Boylan's response if you feel so inclined. Share it, comment, like. That helps get it out to more people who maybe haven't heard this stuff before. But read your own Book of Mormons and figure out how it can change your life even more and bring you to Christ even more. And find your own ways to help spread its message. And maybe they'll be as unique as sending an unsolicited email to a famous Catholic apologist.
Yeah.
Whatever it is in your own sphere, figure out what it is and go ahead and do it.
Yeah, that was pretty baller, bro. You get credit, bro. This was good. This is, as we say in radio, this was a good get. It's called a get. So you got a good get, my man. Hey, Jacob, take us home, bro. Take us home. This is your show. You're the man of the hour. You're the star of the show.
So for those who kind of have a cynical attitude towards debate, first of all, I agree that a debate is not something that you do with someone on the street. You don't just go up and begin debating people. It's kind of like, if you punch someone in the face in the street, that's assault. If you punch them in a boxing match, that's a good job. So let your debates be debates. Let your discussions be discussions. And yeah, thanks to Trent, great guy, all the respect in the world for him. But also debate was something that helped to save my testimony. When I was struggling, I think that one of the things that really helped me was actually watching Christians, like Trent Horn, engage with atheists. I got to see both of them make their best case. And I came to realize that atheism wasn't, it wasn't where the cool, smart kids all were. I began to learn from watching these interactions when I really saw these ideas get tested. And so while it may not be for everyone, Carden might fall asleep during them, but I got a lot out of them. And I have watched many people be touched by debates and I've gained a lot from when I've participated in them. They've been good all the way around. So I don't want people to doubt that these sorts of debates, that they're just useless or stupid. They actually can make a difference. Maybe not for you, but for other people like me, they definitely have. And that's why I'm also very careful about what debates you do. Don't be arrogant and think you know everything and go debate anybody. But I mean, I guess just the final thing is the Book of Mormon, it's an incredible book. And for any of these arguments that I've made, none of them matter as much as the direct experience of testimony in seeing how the book affects both me and seeing how it affects other people. That's when you really know that there's something to this. And my goal in all of this, I said this from the beginning, was hopefully to win the debate, but to win it in such a way that people would take the Book of Mormon more seriously and stop laughing at it. There's an entire musical about this book. I started off my debate by telling everyone that most people think this book is a joke. And I'm hoping that, and I think that was accomplished. I've seen a lot of people say, wow, there's more to this than maybe I realized. And that was what I hoped for. So I'm glad I got to do that. And I'm thankful that I had the opportunity.
All right. Awesome. So check this out. I just went on the website and yeah, we are out now. We are out of War in Heaven veteran hats. We're back into pre-order. So the stock has, the current stock has sold out again a second time, except for there are 5 autographed War in Heaven hats, which go for about $10 more or so, or maybe 10 or $20 more. So there's 5 of those left, but I miscalculated. It looks like there was about 8 left, and all 8 were purchased just from the time I announced it. Brutal. By Joshua, Braden, James, Char, and then Michael Bell snagged the last one, it looks like, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, the regular, unsigned, regular, basic War in Heaven hats, they're all, you can pre-order them. We'll probably have hopefully another order coming next week. And then I'm going to get out tomorrow another shipment. Yesterday, if you haven't had a chance to see it, I'm actually going to pull up our x.com post here. Fulfillment has literally become like a family affair because these hats have become so much more popular than we ever anticipated. And so I'm actually going to our profile right here and showing the last picture that I posted. It's on the screen for anybody that hasn't seen it yet. But yeah, this is the WardRadio studio and us doing fulfillment throughout the night into the wee hours of the morning. This has become the new date night for me and Brittany, and also even Grandma and Grandpa came over to help yesterday, and it was actually pretty dang fun. So anyway, get these while supplies last. We got 5 more of the autographed ones in the store that you can pick up if you want to pitch in an extra 10 or $20 for an autograph, or we'll get the pre-orders out to you as soon as possible. Either way, let's all give snaps for Jacob Hansen. He's a stud. Gidganota says, one last super chat snuck in there, says Nanny says Luke's fam is adorable. So Luke, good to see that your family's getting the love, and your children weren't misbehaved or whatever and didn't embarrass you. Good job to your kids and all that.
Oh, speaking of
embarrassing kids, yes. No, I'm just kidding.
Did we read that final Gidgadonut?
Yeah, I read the Gidgadonut one.
Awesome. Good. You just did that?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was tracking the...
No sweat. There's a lot going on. So anyway, dudes, yeah, buy Brad's book, guys. Pretty soon, Jonah Barnes is going to have his own book called Key to the Keystone, which is talking about all of basically the apocryphal truths that were most likely in the apocryphal Genesis that Lehi carried, and just all kinds of other really cool apocryphal stuff. That's why he is called, indeed, the associate professor of all things apocryphal. He will receive tenure after the publishing of his book, though, because he will then be a published professor, and we will have to call him the arch professor of all things apocryphal in order to maintain the alliteration. Check out Jacob Hansen at Thoughtful Faith and subscribe to Ward Radio News to see what Luke Hansen has going on. And as always, it's been real and it's been fun, and it's been real fun for this and more. Please make sure you guys check us out at wardradio.com.
I built a rocket in my basement. I'm gonna fly it to the moon. This supersonic is amazing. You're gonna feel my sonic boom. I'm flying higher and I'm never coming down. Look at me now.